It's 2 o'clock. The Code Board of the City of Tarpon Springs is now in session. Bobby, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Wade?
Present.
Mr. Perfidio?
Here.
Mr. Weeks?
Here.
Mrs. Telliar?
Here.
Mrs. Archer's absent. Excuse, Mr. Rollinston?
Here.
Dr. Matea?
Here.
Ms. Eisner?
Here.
Mr. Ogle?
Here.
That completes your roll call.
Thank you. Please, everyone, make sure your phones are silenced. Then if you'll stand, we'll say the pledge and have an invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we seek blessings on the task before us. Bless our efforts with clear insight, our deliberations with wisdom, our work with clarity and accuracy, and our decisions with impartiality. We pray that our work this afternoon will find favor in your sight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It is the intention of this board to promote, protect, and improve the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens of Tarpon Springs by providing an equitable, effective, and inexpensive method of enforcing various codes within the city of Tarpon Springs. Any aggrieved party may appeal a final administrative order of this board to the circuit court. Such appeal shall be filed within 30 days of the execution of the order to be appealed. Florida Statute 286.0105 requires any party appealing a decision of this board to have a record of the proceedings to support such an appeal. The procedure of the board is as follows. First, the city presents its witnesses and exhibits, after which the alleged violator is able to ask specific questions regarding the testimony. That part's just, they present. If you're here, you'll ask questions. Following that, the alleged violator is allowed to make a presentation and present his or her witnesses and exhibits. Then the city can question the alleged violator's witness. After both rounds of testimony on the part of the city and on the part of the alleged violator, each party is asked to give a closing argument, first by the city and then by the alleged violator. After those three steps are taken, the board will close the public hearing portion to discuss it and take appropriate action. Before we begin the public hearings, if you're going to speak, you'll need to stand now and be sworn in by the secretary of the board. So if you're going to speak, Bobby will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. The testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Thank you. You can be seated.
Before we start today, board members, we've started last week with the new packet that should expedite things a little. I would like to ask for a vote if you want to use the previous forms or if you wish to use the new forms. Could I have a motion from someone, please?
Motion to use the new forms.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Let's just do a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? We're going to start with our new forms, and we'll struggle through a little bit. Bear with us. The first case today is case number 238000003. The address is 495 River Village Drive. And the alleged violator is Jean Marie Bishop. If you're here and would like to step to the mic, first the city will present its case, and then you can, we'll proceed from there. All right, thanks.
This is not a homesteaded property. On January 12, 2023, Stormwater Inspector Paul Hopkins inspected the property located at 495 River Village Drive due to self-initiated activity. Upon arrival to the property, Mr. Hopkins witnessed contractors washing out paint supplies into the stormwater inlet, and there was red paint that was thrown directly into the inlet as well. Mr. Hopkins advised both the contractors and respondent this had to cease immediately and could not continue. The contractors have been washing the paint out in the stormwater inlet for at least the past 3 days. Due to contamination, the vacuum truck responded to the property and cleaned out the inlet. The standard illicit discharge documentation was completed along with a work order and reimbursement billing form totaling $459.69. The property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board, and due to city stormwater staff cleaning the areas, the property is in compliance at this time. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent a one-time illicit discharge fine of $250 and requiring the abatement fee of $459.69 to be paid. And Mr. Hopkins is here if you have any questions. Second is our photographs that he took while he was at the property of the contractors washing out the paint into the drain, and then the drain itself with paint in it. And then the notice of hearing for Exhibit 3, the certified mail receipt, and the affidavit of posting. Exhibit 4 is going to be the property appraiser and tax collector. And then Exhibit 5, we have the 3 stormwater codes in there if you would like to review them, as well as the paperwork for illicit discharge documentation that was provided by Stormwater. And then your last page would be the receipt for reimbursement they are seeking for the $459.69.
Do we need to admit this all into evidence for just this case or for all of them? Each one
Each
individually?
case individually for
Alrighty.
this case.
Bobby, will you, Ms. Bishop, we're admitting this into evidence officially.
Okay.
Bobby's going to take care of that.
Am I going to get a copy of it as well?
You have copies of everything that's being,
You can take your section out of the book right there when you
Okay.
leave if you'd like.
Yep.
everything we have, you have.
Now, yeah, thank you.
At this point, you get to ask her questions. You're not making your case yet. If you have a question on what testimony she gave, it would be appropriate now. Following that, you can make your case. Do you have a question on what she presented?
I do, just that this is not a homestead property. I don't know what relevance that has because I'm really not that familiar with it, but it is homestead.
On the property appraiser that I printed out, you have a copy as well. It says that it is not homesteaded.
It's the only home we own and live in.
That's something
Does
you'd have to follow up with the property appraiser for that.
Okay.
That's nothing that I can change.
Okay, but that doesn't make any, that's not relevant to anything, any of the fines or anything, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, thank you.
All right, then you get to make your case.
I don't have much of a case. I mean, there was a violation, so I do acknowledge that. We hired the painters from a good friend of ours that owns a contracting business, and they do work for him, so we thought that he was legal and everything was fine, so we hired them.
Do you have any questions for her?
Oh, I do have something else to say, sorry. The paint, the red paint that is visible was from a small can because we only painted 2 doors, and it was from a small can and a very little bit of that can, and I have photos of that here and our statement as well, and a very little bit was used, if that has any bearing.
You have some items that you wish to be included in the evidence that she did not already give?
Yeah, you guys don't have this because it was it was just a summary of events that what happened and pictures of the actual cans, the can of paint and how much was used.
For us to use that, we need to declare it into evidence, and that means you will not get that back,
I have more.
okay? Just for reference, we'll start down at that end. Bobby will add that to the evidence.
Thank you.
And because I was not on scene for this, I would like to defer to Mr. Hopkins so he can review this.
I have an extra copy if you need it.
I did not see the cans of paint. I just saw the two doors, the bottom floor and the top floor that were painted red. I did not go around the building any way, shape, or form. So anything I saw was right from the street.
But you watched the, it says you saw the paint being thrown away?
No, I did not see that. I saw the remnants of the paint
Oh, just
in the
the
storm
remnants?
drain. The
We
red
see the paint going down the drain.
yeah.
Yep.
Red paint I did not see.
Okay.
If you will start her paperwork at that end, we'll need to pass it down.
Excuse me, ma'am, you said that you hired friends. Are these licensed contractors?
The contractor friend that I have, yes, is. He works in several states.
So the state or the county licenses them as contractors. They have a number and all that.
Are you referring to my friend who is a contractor or the actual painters?
I'm referring to the people who dumped the paint,
The painters.
the painters.
I don't know. I didn't ask them. I will do
Anybody else
that
have a
from now
question for
on.
her? We'll close the public portion and discuss it. Everybody knows I have a problem with stuff going down the storm drain.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. You're welcome.
Anybody else on the board wish to make a comment? I appreciate the city taking the effort to clean it out as best they could before it went out into the Gulf and into our little manatees. The only awkward part is flipping back and forth. Good intel. Thank you.
Excuse me, can I speak? My name is Paul Hopkins with the Stormwater Department.
I'm sorry, speak right into the microphone.
My name is Paul Hopkins with the Stormwater Department. The red paint was done on Tuesday. I talked to the gentleman. That's when they discarded the red paint into the storm drain. We were there on Thursday and watched them they were washing out the gray and the white paint. So it was Tuesday. We saw it on
Red.
Thursday, so I don't know about Wednesday. So they had 3 days of washing everything out. So what was in there, we got out of the storm drain. So
Thank
what was
you.
in there before that, we didn't get that out.
Understood. Thank you.
you.
We have one more question. Thank you.
Officer Stoner, could you tell me if it makes a difference one way or another, the quantity with regard to the violation, or is it just the violation in general?
It would be the violation in general.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
It could make the fine that they're looking for more. It could make it an illicit discharge where it's irreparable damage, which increases the fine as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think everyone's reviewed the evidence. Could I hear a motion, please?
I move in case number 23-800003 to find the respondent, Jean Marie Bishop, in violation of the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 20-93, 20-94, 20-97, for the property located at 495 River Village Drive in Tarpon Springs, and to assess a one-time illicit discharge fee of $250 and require an abatement fee of $459.69 to be paid.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Who did the second? I'm sorry.
Me.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Eisner?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mr. Rollinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Your motion carries.
Second case today. Thank you for coming. They will send an order. Do you want to review them, or do you want me to?
You can if you want.
They will send you this order, and then they will give you all the directions you need. If you have further questions, you can call them at the code board or code enforcement office.
Okay, thank you.
Second item for today, case number 23-80000006, Paul Hopkins, Cobblestone Management Group. Is there anyone here for that case? Thank you. You know the schedule, how this goes. The city's going to present its case.
Yep.
This is not a homesteaded property. On October 28, 2022, Stormwater Inspector Paul Hopkins inspected the property located at 21 North Stafford Avenue, STF number 34, at Orange Street parking lot due to self-initiated activity. Upon arrival to the property, city stormwater staff were inspecting the STF pond, and they noticed that there was food debris, grease, and other food-related substances in the inlet and pipes leading to the pond. During the inspection, the restaurant, Tarpon Tavern, was closed and no contact was made with any city staff, or any staff. City stormwater staff cleaned out the area of all substances and debris. The standard illicit discharge documentation was completed, along with a work order and reimbursement billing form totaling $477.70. It should be noted that there have been prior incidents of illicit discharge at this location on March 18th, 2021, where city staff spoke with the restaurant staff, and another incident occurred on November 9th, 2022. Due to continued illicit discharge and noncompliance, the property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board. Also, due to city stormwater staff cleaning the areas, the property is already in compliance at this time. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent a one-time illicit discharge fine of $250 and require the abatement fee of $477.70 to be paid. Exhibit 2 are the photographs of the storm drain taken by Mr. Hopkins. Exhibit 3 is the notice of hearing, the certified mail receipt, and the affidavit of posting. Exhibit 4 is the property appraiser and tax collector, as well as Sunbiz. Exhibit 5 is going to be the illicit discharge ordinance numbers again, and the illicit discharge documentation that was completed by Mr. Hopkins. And again, he is here if you have any questions.
My turn to speak.
Do you have any questions for her?
Yes, I was just wondering, I was not present when this incident occurred. I have 51 employees. I didn't know if the person who witnessed this from the city, did they witness an employee dumping this, or they witnessed the actual storm drains appearing like this? What was the case?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Hopkins again.
Okay.
Ms. Wade, would you have the gentleman's
Mr.
name?
Hopkins, will you be sure to state your name and your job title when you present? Thank you.
Paul Hopkins, Stormwater Department. Nobody was on site at the time of this issue at this date. There was nobody. We went ahead and took care of it, cleaned it up, and reported to Cindy.
Thank you. That answer your question?
Yes, it does. The reason I ask that is that I own a couple of restaurants in town, one at 21 North Safford and one at 13 and 17 North Safford. The parking lot next to the Tarpon Tavern also holds the garbage dumpster there, okay? You could speak to Public Works Director Tom Function. I had a conversation with him just 2 weeks ago about someone also calling, and I was actually the person present that they were calling on. Part of my, just to give you a little background, the Tarpon Tavern and the Bistro both have sidewalk cafe permits. Okay, part of that agreement with the city, which is very nice of you allowing us to do that, but at the same time, it brings life to the downtown. It makes the downtown look more vibrant, which I think everyone in town wants to do. Part of that agreement, though, I had to agree to keep that sidewalk area clean. Even though it's city property, I have to keep it clean. I don't know who called me, but I contacted Tom Function at that time, and I said, Bill from your department stopped by and said, I cannot leaf blow Safford Avenue. And I said, what is the case with that? And when I was speaking to Bill, he said, well, an individual saw you blowing it into the storm drain. I said, absolutely not. What I was doing is I was blowing that debris along the curb of the sidewalk, clear of that curb. And the purpose of doing that was to separate the leaves from any straws or paper goods or anything else, whether it belonged to material that came from the Tarpon Tavern or anyone else's. And in speaking with Tom, I said, if you want me to cease and desist, I will, but we try to take it above and beyond. If you look at our properties, we are good stewards of those properties and the things around it. He said, please continue on what you're doing. All I was doing with that leaf debris was moving it to the intersection of Orange Street and North Safford. Okay, there was nothing being blown into the drain at that time. For this, however, though, the garbage corral is right here. We also take care of this because we don't want rats, we don't want mice, we don't want cockroaches, anything there. So we take it above and beyond. Waste management will only dump what is in that dumpster, anything that's around it. Mm-hmm. I don't know who is really supposed to take care of that, but if it's our excess garbage or the excess of the surrounding, because this garbage carousel is not only for us, but it's for surrounding businesses, we will take it upon us, and I'll pay for this, my employees do, we try to throw everything into that dumpster. However, when that dumpster is dumped, there is debris that falls into the parking lot, and it is a mess around that dumpster. I contact the city, I ask them to back that up, the dumpster. We clean it all out, sweep it all out, we clean it out. We also do the same thing for the retention pond, where Exhibit 2 is. So I'm not saying some of that debris might be ours, but I'm saying everyone else who possibly uses that dumpster is equally guilty of that. So I don't think I should be held accountable for what's going on in this parking lot. That is from that garbage carousel, not from what I'm doing on that parking lot. Okay?
Paul, do you have questions for him?
If I may, good afternoon, thank you. My name is Tony Manello, Streets and Stormwater Supervisor for City of Tarpon Springs. Dan, you had some great points, and we do appreciate the life you bring to downtown. It's a great place you have there. There's separate issues here.
That's what
This is simply the grease and organic discharge to the storm system. The leaf blowing was not in question, nor the dumpster. They are separate issues, which I'd be happy to talk to you
But
about.
it could be correlating to this because grease is dumped into that dumpster. When that dumpster is lifted, or if the garbage does not get into the dumpster because surrounding businesses don't put all the garbage into the dumpster.
Yeah.
So it goes onto the pavement. When it rains, of course, this drainage, as well as the other one in Exhibit 2, is below that grade. So where does it go? Into those.
And I do understand that. There's some means you do, whether it's a locking dumpster corral. And I
But
don't
that's
know.
your property, not mine.
Well, it's not our.
I pay taxes for it, but I don't
That's-
own that dumpster. You
okay.
guys do.
That's something we could talk with Tom
Right,
about.
but I shouldn't be fined for that
Well,
because
once
I'm not
again,
guilty.
that's a separate issue, not from what we're talking about. As a matter
And
of
you
fact.
should have 6 or 7 other people up here because you don't know whose grease this came from.
Well,
It could have come from the tavern or
And
anyone
if you let me
else's.
finish, there was another work order. Was this the second one?
We're not talking about that. We're talking about this one.
Okay, correct, this one. There was a second work order for the same offense back on, November 1st, 22. Actually, myself and Mr. Hopkins went by your property.
Right.
You had an employee washing floor mats in the parking lot right over the storm drain.
That was addressed.
Okay, but that's the same issue, whether it's, okay.
But not for when this occurred. This was not observed by any employee doing that at this time. You're taking circumstantial evidence from a prior incident, not this incident here.
And we didn't see them washing them at that time?
Yeah.
All right, so once again, it just, and there may be no eyewitness, you may be
Right,
correct on that
so
one,
you
I
don't know who did this. Someone could have
So-
come up with a 5-gallon thing of oil and dumped it in there, and you're accusing me of doing it just because I'm in closest proximity. That's not fair.
And granted, that may be the case, but we've had at least 5 instances where these mats were being done. And all the time it's like, well, we didn't know. We only spoke to management, I believe, one time in the past 5 years or so. Whoever, I forget the woman's name, she was
I
a
have
bartender
various
manager.
general managers through the
And they're
10
gone,
years,
so
yes,
that's
right,
irrelevant
yeah.
too. So just based on previous events and the type of discharge, it was deemed that it was oils and greases. Now, the other thing was there was oil and grease tracks from that grate toward the pond because that's the way it slopes. We didn't see evidence from the dumpster toward the grate. So it appeared that all that originated from that grate. I mean, there weren't tracking evidence from the dumpster.
From the grate to where? I'm sorry, sir.
Where was it?
The-
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have the photos. Oh, yes, I do have the photos.
Number 2.
But are you accusing me of washing mats again? Or are you accusing me of illegal dumping of oil? What are you accusing me of at this point?
What's before us is just the grease
Grease, yeah.
issues.
Right, but all
The
I'm
leaves
saying
are
is
not-
it's not
hang
on my property.
Hang on, you asked me a question, I'm
Okay.
gonna try to answer. What's before us are
Right.
what you were given, the pictures of the grease areas. Most of the restaurants have a grease disposal unit.
We're all required by
And
that.
I thought you did also?
We have a 1,250-gallon grease trap.
Okay.
It's pumped out regularly. I can show you
And
all
my
of the
question
times
to
that
the
it is.
city is this adjacent to their grease dump or to the dumpster?
Neither. The
That's not
dumpster-
true.
Let him answer, please.
Okay, according to this photo. By the way, they actually do have what's called a mop sink,
Yes.
which we recommended to the staff several times to wash the mats out over that, because it then goes through the sewer system, not the storm system, and everything goes away. But then we noticed, like I said, a couple other instances where they're washing in the parking lot when we were there. The dumpster is approximately, 20, 25 feet from the drain, and the mop sink is the same distance on the other angle, about another 25, 30 feet. So they're not adjacent. They are separated.
So this picture that we see, there's a clean drain picture, 1, 2, 3, 4, page 4 of Exhibit 2. It's not clear where that is located.
That's the retention pond.
This is
Hang
where
on.
the pipe discharges from the grate in the parking lot into the pond on property, on the parking lot property. the entry point, if you will, where the pipe ends and the pond begins.
All I'm saying is that if that dumpster is
We get
pile
it.
overflowed, right, and they go to lift that up over the dump truck, that bucket can drop anywhere. Most likely, it's gonna dump into the dumpster, but if it doesn't, it's gonna dump into the parking lot, which it's going to go into that drain, and then, like you're saying, sir, into that retention pond there. All I'm saying is, if I got 5 speeding tickets going down Mears Boulevard, right, and someone was caught, but they didn't see who it was on the 6th time, you can't go and write me a ticket for the 6th speeding offense because I've done it before.
We
We're up here
understand.
for this today, not for what I did in the past.
We understand, we're only addressing the one issue.
That's right.
So I have a question. So when this was observed, the business is closed, nobody is there. So I'm just asking, what was the line of thinking by the city to say this was the Tarpon Tavern? Just the past incidents that we were dealing
Yes,
with?
typically there's at least one staff member there, I don't know what he's called, maintenance, cleaning crew, or whatever, doing the prep work to start up for the morning.
He's unsupervised, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's an
yes.
opening cleaner.
And we've actually given him his card, said, here, give Dan his
Exactly.
card so we
Yep.
could call and try and talk about it. But typically there's one, I think, one occasion we went, there was the cleanup person and maybe one, I want to say bartender / manager perhaps, that was years ago. But no more, no, it wasn't a full staffed or the owner, no.
But this incident, this one, there was nobody there at the business?
Nobody.
Okay.
Doors were shut.
And through our list of
And
discharge.
this is not a second notice. Has nothing to do with any
Exactly.
discussions
It has
of
to
the
be
past.
dealt with in
This
isolation.
is only listed as a first order.
Right.
And it sounds like a training issue perhaps, but unless you have any other evidence, I think,
No, I just want to add, everyone's actually state certified in illicit discharge investigation and training. And by the location of where the grease was emanating, we track upstream, if you will.
I understand.
Like we find a problem at Spring Bayou, we follow the pipes up till we find where it's coming from. So based on that evidence, we saw it was coming out of that pipe. We tracked the pipe back. It's only one section that goes to the inlet in the parking lot. And if that were the case, we would have evidence around the inlet of someone dumping it, or even evidence from the dumpster to the inlet tracking that grease. So it's kind of one follows the other, and that's all I have.
does the board have further questions for
Yes.
either the city
Could
or
you-
the respondent?
For the city, could you tell me what time in the morning these incidents happened?
It was between 7, it was before 8 a.m., between 7 and 8.
Was when
And
you observed
the
it?
restaurant has been closed since 11 p.m. or 10 p.m.?
9:30 or 10 p.m.,
9:30?
yes. But I do have a morning crew that comes in to
Yes, I
clean
know
the
you do.
restaurant, and then the perimeter, which isn't my property as well.
Correct.
For the city, has there been any effort to contact the owners of the establishment face to face and say, hey, listen, this
In the
is the
past,
problem?
yes, and
Not-
believe me.
He's
No,
asking
on
the
this
city.
case, on this case. Has any effort by the city been made during normal business hours to contact the owner or manager of the operating restaurant to ascertain if in fact the violation is coming from that particular establishment?
Did you try and call for this one? Okay, for this, on this date of the, when was that, the first work order here?
10/28?
28 October.
28. I'm trying to think which one it was. I actually gave my card to the gentleman, the cleanup guy, and I said to reach out and give me a call, because it was early, he was the only one there, and he said he should be in shortly. I don't think I received a call. And on this one, I did not contact anyone. I don't know, did you guys reach out?
No, I did not.
And we got no answer last time. We received no answer last time, so we didn't, I guess no one reached out.
Anyone else have a question?
I have a question.
Go ahead,
How
Ms.
many
Einstein.
different businesses utilize that dumpster?
I'm not sure. I know that it's as far up to at least Fackley's department store, and then it also includes where the Hedge Witch is, and then the corner property of Safford and Tarpon Avenue, Two Frogs, and then whoever else cares to come by, like on First Fridays, the vendors dump. We spend at least an hour after First Friday on Saturday cleaning up the garbage. We're not asking for compensation from the city. If you go by and look at that retention pond and the amount of debris that's in there, and I can tell you, like, for example, I don't sell Busch Light. There are cans of Busch Light in there. There's debris of hot dog wrappers and that type of thing.
Unrelated, though.
Right.
And we understand, but
Right,
we have
but
to
there are
stick
numerous
with the case
businesses,
before
and all I
us.
wanted to say is, and why I was using these references, is they probably don't sell Busch Light either, but it's not a locked dumpster, and I'm not trying to be confrontational with you. I'm just saying there's no way I can tell you where this came from during this case. You don't have proof that I did it, and I don't have proof of anyone else doing it. So I don't think I should be held accountable because you didn't witness anyone doing this. We get sofas thrown in there, you know, or not even thrown in. We have to throw it in or take it to the dump. So I don't know who did
None
it.
of this relates to the storm pond.
Oh, it does, because the
Not the
retention
case
pond is
before
part of
us.
that, and there's debris, paper, physical property, and liquids.
I'm going to have to cut you off because
Sure.
we only
No.
have certain
I rest my case.
things that we're addressing.
I
Thank you.
appreciate everyone's help.
Anyone else have a question?
Madam Chair, I did want to read something into the record just regarding prior violations. In Chapter 2, 168, subsection B for the Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances under Code Enforcement Board, in determining the amount of the fine, the Code Enforcement Board shall consider the following factors: the gravity of the violation, any actions taken by the violator to correct the violations, as well as any previous violations committed by the violator. That would be why there's the previous ones in the staff report.
And you didn't witness me do it, so you can't accuse me of doing this one. Maybe in past you witnessed someone doing it for my property, and I corrected it. For this one, no one witnessed someone physically doing it.
I understand that. That's why
This is only listed as a first violation, so that's why
Right.
we're not looking at anything else that
Exactly.
ever happened before.
Right, good, thank you.
Just to clarify again with the city, there are multiple entities that use the area in
Yes.
question?
Yes, he is correct. That is a shared use
And there are
dumpster.
multiple entities that use the one dumpster from Waste Management?
Yes, it's a shared dumpster, as I mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
But are you saying, sir, are you saying, though, that you followed this back and it didn't have to do with the dumpster? Is that what you were saying?
Based on our training, yes, it didn't appear to come from there.
Okay.
If, say, and we do have a problem with that, with Waste Management, with their older dumpsters. They get rotten at the corners, and things that are thrown into it, liquid, and even fruit decaying, whatever, oozes out of it. They call it dumpster juice, comes out of it. And you could see a trail. Probably we can go out and show you 3 or 4 parking lots right now where there's a trail from the corner of the dumpster to a storm drain. That lends to say the dumpster's leaking, it's discharging to the drain. Like I said, there was nothing evidenced around the perimeter, which means it, came in from there. And once again, if someone, say, had some substance that would cause this grease, which is just visible in nature to cooking grease, then they would have had like the container from the dumpster that they dumped directly in, and then made sure nothing dripped and went back to the dumpster and threw it away. I mean, we didn't see any Wesson oil bottles or anything around the grate to say that we can't prove it did or did not come from the dumpster. All we can say is we didn't see evidence of it trailing from the dumpster into the drain.
In that
Thank you.
case, then you should write up the city or Waste Management for pouring grease from the dumpster into the drain, correct?
I said there was no evidence of trailing from the dumpster to the grate.
But you said you have witnessed that before when they start to leak.
Going back
Yes,
and
yeah.
forth. These, we
Not
can't
at
have
your
these
property,
side
though, which has
discussions.
nothing to
I'm
do
so
with why
sorry,
we're here.
Dan. No one else, we're going to call for a motion from the board. Think about it for just a minute.
Thank you, everyone.
Can you tell us what this photograph represents? I believe it's number 4 in our packet.
Picture's the fourth one.
Madam Chair,
You're,
This one here.
Okay. What was your question, sir?
I'm sorry?
What was your question?
sorry, we can't have further discussions. We've already
I'm sorry?
closed discussions at this
She
time.
closed the discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
That's okay. We're waiting for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion, and then people can see how they feel about it as the motion goes. I move in case number 23-800006 to find the respondent Cobblestone Management Group, LLC, in violation of the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Sections 20-93, 20-94, and 20-97 for the property located at 21 North Safford Avenue, Tarpon Springs, and to assess a one-time illicit fine of $250 and require the abatement of the fee, $477.70 to be paid.
Do I hear a second? Or any discussion on modifying the motion?
Modify the motion.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that, and I don't know how to put this in legal terms for this. Okay, I don't know how to put this in legal terms for the motion, but my feeling is that a notice should go out to all the people that use the dumpster to let them know what's going on, because they're not aware. And I don't believe that Tarpon Tavern should be solely responsible. So I kind of want to defer this to bring everybody in on it, whether there's going to be a fine or a abatement. But I think that there's a lot of people that are just unaware, and the city is doing their job because there's an issue. There's definitely an issue, and it needs to be stopped. But I think that it shouldn't go to one party. I don't know how to say that. And
Well, you could table
Okay.
this matter and direct code enforcement to bring notices against the other properties, assuming that they believe they have a basis for doing that.
The other properties are not restaurants and don't generally have the same refuse, so that needs to be part of our
you
consideration.
don't know that. People bring in food.
But let me finish.
Yeah.
But you cannot tell them to violate someone if they don't believe that they have probable cause to do that.
The code board did not think others were at fault, or they would have included them, I think is what
Is
he's
that
saying.
true?
Again, I have to defer. I'm not part of this case. I'm
That's
just
kind of an
presenting.
opinion, yeah.
There's still a motion on the table.
There is a motion on the
So-
floor and has not been seconded.
I think one of the things, and this is not a second, but one of the things we have an issue with, this is going to be this, an iterative process. It's going to be regurgitated, because every time something gets dumped, obviously the property owner's going to say, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. Well, okay, so short of doing DNA testing and reaching back to see, what was thrown in and what was in the restaurant to do a correlation, there's got to be some type of process to either lock up the dumpster so nobody can get into it, or even put, Big Brother monitor, do we put a camera there and monitor it? Because we definitely have to keep this behavior from happening again. So it's just not it's not enough just to fine him once and say, hey, this is, because we don't want it to reoccur.
I don't think that anybody needs to be fined at the present time. There are no witnesses to this. It happened at 7 o'clock in the morning when the business isn't open. And they say that the only reason that, that this is happening is because of a continued and illicit discharges and noncompliance, but yet they say that this was particularly that business's problem, and that's the only one that it could be. but they list it and they base it on other discharges, but they say that there is no, we're not talking about any other discharges, we're talking about this one. But it's,
So
this
the
should not,
evidence is
this
not
should
matching the
be
narrative.
set. This should be just laid back, deal with it on a community basis, because there is absolutely, and I got to tell you, I walk my dog every morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, and that facility is clean by 8 o'clock in the morning every morning. My dog loves to eat leftovers, and I'm telling you, he doesn't get any from either the bistro or the Tarpon Tavern. He gets them from other areas on the downside streets, not anywhere near the Tarpon Tavern. I've been impressed for 20 years now.
We need to have a second or.
We either have to second that motion, or the motion will fail for lack of a second, and a second motion could be proffered after that.
Can we modify the motion?
Yes?
I was gonna say, I'll make a second of a different motion.
I didn't
Yeah.
hear you.
I was gonna say, I'll make a second motion, a new, if that's gonna die.
So there was no second motion. That motion has failed.
Right.
Would you like to proffer another one?
I move that in case 23-800006, that we find Cobblestone Management Group not in violation.
I second.
I agree.
Bobby, roll call, please.
We should have discussions before.
All right,
seconded.
anybody want to discuss, make a,
Okay, so you just don't make the problem go away. I agree. You know, the motion is sound. However, how do we keep this, you know, there's got to be some caveat in there how we keep this from reoccurring.
because even though you didn't see it, the city at least saw it on this date.
Like, if it was me, if I was the property owner, I would take this as a win and then do everything in my power, to your point, put a camera up, secure the dumpster, and if it comes back again, we deal with it. But it's, we'll get bogged down in the
Right.
weeds if we sit
Okay.
here saying, well, we move that you do this, and that. It's,
Right.
This was the case in front of us. It's either he's in violation or not. We make that call, and then hopefully the businesses around take steps. Because I do believe the city. I believe that grease was there. It absolutely happened.
Yeah.
I don't
I think we can put it to this person.
I can't say, if it was me, if I was the business owner and I own a business, I would not be thrilled with it. So I'd be taking steps to make sure I know exactly who's in my parking lot and when going forward.
It sounds like a bigger problem in general for the whole area, not just this one.
Right.
General restaurant.
agree.
Yes, exactly.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Bobby, roll call, please.
Ms. Eisner?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Yes.
Rollinston?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Wade?
Yes.
Your motion carries.
So Dan? Yes. You understand the board's comments as well as, you got a reprieve, but we got to make sure we figure out some way for this not to recur. If it's not you, then I don't have an answer for you.
I would love to be part of a working group to try to find a solution for this kind of thing, especially because our town is growing and it has some growing pains, but we have a wonderful city, but let's make it better.
We agree, that's why we want to keep you guys. And we don't want to make it sound like the previous lady
No.
who dumped, that was witnessed by the city. No one witnessed this. That's the difference, just for the public's knowledge of the two cases.
I do not want to be part of the problem, I want to be part of the solution.
We
I'd love to
understand.
work with you. Thank you.
Thank you for coming. The city will send notice of such. Case number 3. Case 3 is 22-00000253, Ruth B. Wright, Living Trust for 1500 Sunset Road, Unit F6 on Tarpon Springs. Ma'am, are you Ruth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The city will make a case, you get to ask questions, and then you'll get to present yours. Go ahead, please.
This is not a homesteaded property. On December 12, 2022, Building Inspector Keith Mead inspected the property located at 1500 Sunset Road, Unit F6, due to a citizen complaint. Upon arrival to the property, Mr. Mead was permitted to access the residence by the men working. The men advised Mr. Mead that they were only doing flooring and painting. However, Mr. Mead observed that there was a total remodel, including electrical, plumbing, and building work being completed, and there were no permits. Mr. Mead posted a stop work order and advised the workers they were not to continue. On December 12, 2022, Code Inspector Cindy Stoner made contact with the respondent, Ruth Wright, via telephone. She stated that she had asked her HOA and property maintenance company if she needed permits to work on the residence, and she was told no. She also stated that the only thing the workers are doing is installing tile in the bathrooms. She was advised of the photos that were taken, and then she stated they have to take down the drywall and put new drywall up and then put the tile on. She was advised that this requires permits and that only a licensed contractor can do this type of work, as well as the electrical and plumbing. The respondent again stated nothing electrical or plumbing was being done and that the male worker was a friend from out of state who worked on my other house. She was advised that only a licensed contractor with proper permits could do work on the residence and that all work was to immediately cease. The respondent became very argumentative and stated having to be licensed is stupid. She was again advised that the work must stop and that her friend cannot do the work, and she would be given 3 weeks for compliance. She continued to be argumentative and eventually hung up the phone. The property was posted with a notice of violation with a compliance date of January 5th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. On December 15th, 2023, Building Inspector Keith Mead received another complaint that the same male was doing unpermitted and unlicensed work at the residence. A reinspection was completed on January 5th, 2023, and found that no efforts had been taken to bring the property into compliance. Due to noncompliance, the property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board. On January 5th, 2023, the respondent sent an email requesting an extension of 90 days to either find a contractor or sell the property. Due to the continued unpermitted and unlicensed work, the request was denied, and she was advised the case would be set for the Code Enforcement Board hearing. Compliance can only be achieved by utilizing a licensed contractor and having all work that has been completed and will be completed included, but not limited to plumbing, electrical, structural, etc., have permits applied for, approved, issued, and finalized. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent until February 27th, 2023 to achieve compliance. If compliance is not achieved, staff recommends the Code Enforcement Board impose a fine of $75 per day beginning on February 28th, 2023 until the property is brought into compliance. For exhibit number 2, these are photographs that building official Keith Mead took when he was out on the property. Shows photographs of the bathroom, the plumbing, the piping, drywall being removed, electrical from a water heater, the stop work notice that he posted. Exhibit number 3 is going to be the notice of violation, the certified mail receipt, the returned mail from the notice of violation, and affidavit of posting, the notice of hearing, certified mail receipt, and affidavit of posting. It's going to be the Pinellas County property appraiser and the tax collector. Exhibit 5 is going to be some emails that were sent back and forth between myself and Mr. Mead regarding the unlicensed work. An email from the respondent requesting her 90-day extension. And then Mr. Mead is here as well if you have any other questions.
Bobby, will you mark the exhibits into evidence, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have, now this is where you just ask a question. Do you have a question for Cindy?
Yes. Was the phone call where you said I was whatever you said. Is it a recording line? Did you bring the recording with you?
We don't record our
Okay,
calls.
so it's just basically your impression that because I was asking you questions that I was, would you say, angry and hostile, or what were your words?
You were very argumentative.
Okay, but do you have something to, because I don't think I was argumentative, I was asking you questions.
I
Which you
did,
didn't like, so,
I did go back and speak with my sergeant regarding the conversation because of the way it went, and I also advised Mr. Mead of the conversation and how it went.
did you have a witness to the conversation?
Unrelated to the,
No, it's
unrelated
not,
to.
because she's casting dispersions on my person
Unrelated,
because I'm asking
unrelated to what is
questions.
before us today. We don't take that into consideration, so you can
Well,
let
then
that
it shouldn't
go.
be in the statement that's read into your records. If she doesn't have any proof that I was
This is
angry
only a
and
time for
argumentative.
question, and she answered your question.
I do have some questions. I want to know if the person who came to the property, these pictures of this water heater, because I've never personally seen the water heater, so where is it saying that, what's the evidence that there's a new water heater?
I'm going to defer to Mr. Mead. He was on the property.
Hi, Keith Mead, Deputy Building Official, City of Tarpon Springs. In regards to the water heater, the only reason I took a picture of that was when I went upstairs to look at other areas, there was a ladder underneath the attic access. The attic access was open, and the water heater was in direct view, and I just took pictures to see if I could find a date of installation on it.
Did you
I
find a
couldn't-
date?
I could not find a date. I don't know if that had anything to do with the other work being done, so I just took a picture of it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Because it says the water heater has been installed in the attic without the use of a licensed contractor, and that water heater was there. I have no knowledge of anything about that water.
Well, whether it was you who put it in or not, it was done without a license, or without a permit, I should say, because it didn't meet
But
code.
you couldn't find the date.
Ma'am, he answered your question.
The date is
If you want to
irrelevant.
present your case, we'll do that separately, but this is just a time for questions.
Okay, so this is, okay, I'm just trying to get clarity.
I understand.
Because I don't
I'm
have
trying to give you
clarity.
the same opportunity as everyone else. If you have just a question, we can ask it. Otherwise, if you'd like to present your case, we're ready.
I'll go ahead and present my case.
Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, I am a veteran, and my first assignment was here in Florida, which is why I decided I was going to retire in Florida, and it hasn't exactly gone like I had hoped. When I moved into this complex, I bought this property in April or May, and I sent an email to the homeowners association as well as the property management company to ask them what is required to do upgrades into this 40-year-old unit. And what I was told by email was that there was nothing really required and that information would be passed on to the board. I interviewed 8 contractors to come out and do the work. Could not get anyone to do the work. I was told that would be a problem here in Florida. I didn't believe it, but now I totally believe it. And I did bring my contractor from my former state who is licensed there. I did not realize that it has to be a licensed person here and they can't be licensed someplace else. So once the stop work order was initiated, then the work stopped. And it was 2 weeks before Christmas, couldn't find anybody, tried to reach their office several times to see, can I get an extension? How do we do this? What do we do to proceed? And that is when I talked to the person on the phone, and it was not a pleasant conversation because I didn't feel like I was getting any help or direction. I was just getting this, different kind of feedback. So my request here is I have found another contractor who is licensed here, took all this time. What my request is that there be an extension to get the work done, because I can't say exactly how long the work will take to get the work done. But hopefully, what I've been told by the contractor is, once they receive the permits, then they will be able to start the work within a few days after receiving the permits. So I am asking for 60 days to get the work started and hopefully completed in that time frame, so that I have a place to live.
have not had a place to live. I've been here almost a year, over a year, and haven't had a place to live. So that's all I'm asking is, can I please get a place to live?
Have a permits been applied for?
No, because we just got the contract. We just signed the contracts today.
Ma'am, I have a question for you. You said you interviewed several contractors, 8.
Yes.
So these were local contractors, and
Yes.
you said that they told you it couldn't be done, or they wouldn't do it? What was?
No, most of them honestly were not necessarily interested in a smaller job. They were interested in bigger jobs. That was right after that hurricane happened and all of that. Couple of them, I never heard from them again. I got a couple of proposals that were so outrageously priced that I couldn't go with any of them. So I have interviewed. This is my 9th contractor, the one that I have recently, that we're having an agreement with.
Okay.
And so that's why to have this happen in December, it's like I haven't been able to find a contractor in almost a year. Finding one before Christmas is gonna be crazy. So I'm grateful to have the person that I have now, that we can get things going.
Okay.
Question. Okay,
her-
but
Your personal residence?
Yes.
and actually, this would be for the code officer.
Go ahead.
No, just, by applying for permits, that grants the grace, not a grace period, but it gives you, have a year, I guess, from when the permits are, when you pull a permit.
Yes, however, she would not be in compliance until those permits are finalized.
Okay, thank you.
And has work been done already?
Yes,
And it wasn't inspected, or there was no permit for the work that's already been done?
correct.
So work was restarted after the stop order?
Yes.
Yep.
No, it wasn't restarted after the work order. They were getting all their stuff together and preparing to leave the state because I could not afford to pay them to not be doing any work. So no, there was no work going on between December 12th and now.
Mr. Mead got a call 3 days after the stop work order was posted that the work was continuing again, so he had to go back out.
Well, he didn't contact me. So I told the workers several times, if anyone contacts you, just give them my phone number, so.
The unpermitted work might not be able to stand as it is if it were done incorrectly anyway, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's what the new contractor will determine, what actually needs to be done to make sure that they are in compliance with Florida guidelines.
Could I hear
A motion?
a motion from anyone, please?
Yeah. I move in case number 22-800000253 to find the respondent Ruth B. Wright Living Trust, Ruth B. Wright, TRE, in violation of City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 6-1 and 9-1, the Florida Building Code, Section 105.1, and the International Property Maintenance Code, Sections 504.1, 603.1, 605.1, for the property located at 1500 Sunset Road, Unit F-6, Tarpon Springs, and assess a fine of $75 per day beginning on February 28th, 2023, until compliance is achieved, and to order the respondent to contact Code Enforcement Division to arrange for any reinspection of the property to verify compliance with the Code Board's order.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Eisner?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Ms. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
No.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Yes.
Your motion carries.
The Code Board will send you the results of this hearing, and you can call them if you have any questions about that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Case number 4, case number 22-800000428. Excuse me, Fouad Kezela and Roseanne Halan, 131 North Spring Avenue. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced your names. Thank you for coming. The Code Board will present their case.
This is not a homestead property. On December 16th, 2022, Building Inspector Keith Mead inspected the property located at 131 North Ring Avenue due to a citizen complaint. Upon arrival to the property, it was observed that the property owner had put down multiple pavers and concrete, making a walkway, porch seating area, and raised landing around the existing stairs. The walkway extended from the backyard to the front, and the entire backyard was made the seating area with the pavers, leaving no green space. Irrigation was also dug and installed, and new irrigation piping was installed on the downspouts. Mr. Mead discussed with the respondent, Fred Kazlia, that due to it being more than 100 square feet of pavers, a permit would be required. He was given a verbal notice of the violation and 2 weeks to apply for the permits to come into compliance. A stop work order was also posted on the property. On December 16th, 2022, the respondent wrote an email to the city regarding the paver project that he completed, which stated the following. My name is Fred Kazlia. I currently reside at 131 North Ring Avenue in downtown Tarpon Springs. After speaking with our local municipality and obtaining approval from my HOA, I installed pavers on my property to add aesthetic value to my home and surrounding communities. As a result of the torrential rainfall on 12/15/22, water accumulation occurred and ultimately led to water within my neighbor's garage at 133 North Ring Avenue. Due to this event, my neighbor has filed a complaint with the city of Tarpon Springs. I have already begun remediation process to address all my neighbor's concerns. In addition, I have submitted a detailed plan of action to my HOA in order to resolve the current mitigating circumstances. My neighbor states he is a contractor from California. He has given me nothing but grief as I attempted to rectify the current state of affairs. I did my due diligence as it pertains to my paver installation. I am not a contractor and have limited knowledge as it relates to this field. On December 20th, 2022, Principal Planner McNeese sent an email to the respondent to review, along with a letter, HOA documents, site drawings, and stormwater management information. In the letter to the respondent, it explained that his property was part of the Carriage Homes on Ring, which was approved by the city of Tarpon Springs as a compliant project with respect to the drainage design, which was also approved by the Southwest Florida Water Management District. It further stated that per the city's land development code, the addition of impervious surfaces, which was what occurred with the respondent's project, was not compliant with this code and cannot be permitted by the city. It also stated that the drawing the respondent provided on August 4th, 2022 via email to the building department of the proposed area that has been substantially exceeded. And due to all of the above, a building permit cannot be issued for the work performed on site and is not compliant with the city's land development code. It was also explained that if he had received approval for the work from the HOA documents specifically state that this would not be approved. Lastly, that all work on the site must cease immediately and all of the unpermitted work performed to date must be removed and the property restored to its original graded and sodded condition by the 2-week timeline previously given. On December 22nd, 2022, Principal Planner sent an email to the respondent advising the date for compliance had been extended per his request to January 13th, 2023. Several emails were sent back and forth between the two discussing further. On December 29th, 2022, Principal Planner sent an email to the respondent with an attached letter and copies of previous emails sent. The letter dated December 29th, 2022, again relaying that the building permit would not be issued, all work must cease and unpermitted work be removed, and should compliance not be met by the January 13th, 2023, further action can and will be taken by the city to gain compliance. On January 13th, 2023, both the Principal Planner and Building Inspector completed a reinspection of the property and found that no efforts had been made to bring the property into compliance and all unpermitted work remained. The property was then posted with a notice of violation with a compliance date of January 24th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. On January 20th, 2023, the respondent sent an email to the division requesting a 90-day extension. Due to 3 previous extensions by the city, this request was denied. The respondent was informed of this and that the case would be set for the Code Enforcement Board hearing. A reinspection was completed on January 25th, 2023, and found that no efforts had been taken to bring the property into compliance. Due to noncompliance, the property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board. Compliance can only be achieved by properly removing all unpermitted work that was completed, including but not limited to concrete, pavers, drains, trenches, gutter outlet diversions, etc., and restoring the property back to its original graded and sodded condition. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent until February 13th, 2023 to achieve compliance. If compliance is not achieved, staff recommends the Code Enforcement Board impose a fine of $150 per day beginning on February 14th, 2023 until the property is brought into compliance. And the principal planner as well as building official are here for questions. Exhibit number 2, these were taken by the building inspector, Mr. Mead, of the property in question and the work that was completed. There's quite a few. Then the next pictures were taken by the principal planner on January 13th, 2023 for a reinspection to show that everything still remained, as well as the irrigation that had been completed. Exhibit 3 is going to be the notice of violation, the certified mail receipt, and the signed card, the notice of hearing, the certified mail receipt, and affidavit of posting. Exhibit 4 is going to be the property appraiser and tax collector. And then you have added next is from a neighbor that was unable to make it today. He's out of state. He wanted me to read his letter into the record so you are aware of the situation. He does have a timeline on there. I'm going to skip over the timeline. And says, we remain deeply concerned that the current conditions subject to our property and continued flooding and ongoing property damage. We request that whatever immediate action necessary to return our property and the drainage around our property to its original condition. We ask that the ditch constructed along our garage foundation be filled in and compacted, that all adjacent paver surfaces be removed, and all surface grading and drainage be returned to its original condition away from our backyard, home, and garage. We do not object to our neighbors making site improvements, providing they are designed by a qualified professional with a plan that has been reviewed and approved by the appropriate authorities, and all construction be performed by properly licensed contractors with proper inspection and approval upon completion. And that is the neighbor next door, Mr. Roger Green. He also included 2 photos so you can see where the water would come in and flood his garage. And that is all I have at this time.
Bobby, will you enter that testimony into the record, please?
Also, I apologize. There has been turned in for original records, a stack of about this many emails, the HOA documents, the site plan, the wastewater management plan. It's with the original documents, but I didn't want to copy that huge thing for everybody.
Will you say your name for me so I said it right?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Fuad Kazala. I go by Fred Kazala.
Fuad?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At this point, you get to just ask, were you sworn in earlier when everybody was? Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
I was.
I know I missed a couple of them. This point, you just ask a question.
Okay.
Then you can make your case, and I'll cut you off if it's anything but a question.
Thank you. So my first question is, please explain specifically how construction of the pavers has caused the stormwater runoff to be detrimentally altered or disrupted.
I'm going to refer to the building official.
And I'm not sure that's what the case is anyway. The case is it was done without permits and without.
Yeah, the case is
proper-
done without permits and proper authorization from the proper authorities. But if you look at the pictures of the neighbor's garage flooding, that's
Yeah.
the evidence.
So we were given that. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. So
Question?
I do have additional questions, but I feel it is important to understand how we arrived to where we are today.
Okay, then we'll start on your testimony. No more questions, correct?
I do have another question, ma'am. My question is, how does Swift Mud's assessment not address the city's land development code?
I can't answer that question. That's between Swift Mud and the Planning and Zoning Board. Usually Swift Mud takes precedence over anything the city has to do.
Okay.
Okay.
And my
All
final
right,
question.
you get to present your case.
I have one final question. What is your reasoning for requesting a site plan for all 12 townhomes.
That, once again, that's planning and zoning, they do the site plan, but the reason for the site plan is so that we know where all the erosion or all the green space is gonna be, where we have permeable and impermeable surfaces and the drainage plan.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So as I said earlier, it's important to understand how we arrived to where we are today, okay? Now, I want to state that it's being presented is I did not initially obtain the proper permits to install the pavers, but I want to begin. I have a packet. I provided it to Ms. Stoner early on with the information. I don't know if you've looked at it so that we can follow along together here. But initially, in early August, I did reach out to the City of Tarpon Springs regarding the installation of pavers as well as the installation of a fence on my property. And per our correspondence, I provided a survey of the property where the fence would be, where the pavers would be as well. Again, through the correspondence, it was ultimately determined that the fence would require a permit, which I did successfully obtain. However, the pavers will not require a permit, is what I was told. So based upon that information, I reached out to the HOA Association and I applied for a approval to install the pavers on my property. Okay, the HOA did in fact grant me approval to install the pavers on my property. So at that point, and also I want to say that they did provide design standards for the for landscaping and the addition of pavers and whatnot. So it was understood that pavers were allowed to be placed on the property, okay? So again, after that information, I went ahead and had the pavers installed on my property. And unfortunately, there was no issues whatsoever, but unfortunately on December the 15th, it was a torrential rainfall that day within the city. Areas of the city had seen water that had never seen water before. And unfortunately, there was slight water in my garage as well as my neighbor's garage. Okay. I've never had any issues with my neighbor prior to that situation. I do want to state that by design, the townhouses where I live are inherently prone to flooding. The townhouses themselves are perched several feet higher than the detached garages behind the townhouses. And there's a hill that runs right off the back of the townhouses that diverts the water directly to the detached garages, to my property as well as my neighbor's property. In addition, there is an oversized gutter that collects the water from the entire townhouse, and it's aimed directly towards the rear of my detached garage as well as my neighbor's property. So I don't feel that helped the situation whatsoever. And I feel as if it very well may have been flooding whether or not the pavers were put in place. Okay, so with that said, the neighbor, the very next day, when this rainfall occurred, December the 15th, I was at work. I'm a pharmacist by trade. He was sending me, many videos. I stated to the neighbor, I felt so bad. I'll do whatever I can to help mitigate the problem. As soon as I get home, I can rent a shop vac. I can, rent fans. I'll help you straighten up. Whatever I can do, I apologize. So that same evening, that same day, that the HOA asked what am I going to do in order to remedy the issue, and I provided a plan of action to the HOA, explaining step by step what I would do to help resolve this situation. Again, just trying to just be a good neighbor. So that next morning, 7:30 in the morning, I was out removing the pavers that we share along our border. But unfortunately, the neighbor he went to the city and filed a complaint, and I just felt like I wish I would have had the opportunity to work it out as neighbors between us. But, you know, it is what it is. And, okay, so with that said, I asked to meet with the city, and, well, actually, no, prior to that, Mr. Mead had come out to the property because, of course, the neighbor filed a complaint, and I explained to Mr. Mead that I had reached out to the city. I did, you know, ask what the permit process was. I was told I did not need permits, that I had HOA approval, but yet he stated, nope, well, I'm here to, you know, your neighbor filed a complaint and issued the, you know, he said this is going to go to the code enforcement and whatnot. So, so after that, I did ask to meet with the city, and I met with Mrs. McNeese and Mr. Paul Smith, and up until that point, I was feeling really really bad about the situation, but they were very nice, and they kind of explained to me what the situation was and what would be the best approach to resolving this situation. And we did discuss in that meeting that, you know, if there was any chance of somehow retaining these pavers, that, you know, it was my understanding that Swift Mud, who is the agency that regulates stormwater management, would be the place to begin. So, you know, with that information, this is right around the holidays, I did reach out to Swift Mud, but the concern was that it could take time. You know, that it might take a long time to obtain a response from Swift Mud. So I was fortunate enough to speak with Swift Mud. They provided their assessment of the pavers. I did have a topographical survey completed, which assessed where the pavers were and the elevations on the property. And you know, I don't know if I can read this to you, or again, if you have this information here, but I feel it's pertinent to the case, and I would like it to be read. But and I'll read it for you. So, anyways, prior to that, again, the Stormwater Management Code, the following development activities may potentially alter or disrupt the existing stormwater runoff and will require approval of a stormwater management plan by the city engineer prior to the issuance of development permits for, and then pavers is one of those. So that's the code that I'm being in question, the code that I'm in violation for. Swift Mud's response to that was, thanks for providing the survey and photo. Review of the elevations on the survey does not appear to show the construction of the pavers have adversely altered or disrupted adjacent runoff. Also, review of the Florida Department of Environmental Protection GIS system, Map Direct, indicates the overall town home development obtained a 10-2 general permit entitled Eco Village Tarpon Springs. Review of the sketch and survey previously provided appears to show the recently constructed pavers estimated at approximately 500 square feet will not adversely impact the design of the stormwater management system submitted as part of, and then it has the number.
Wishing to present this letter from someone else into evidence?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Have you seen this previously?
He gave it to me when he arrived today.
And I've also provided this to the Planning and Zoning Department, because again, it was my understanding that if there was any chance of keeping the pavers, that we would have to see what Swift Mud's assessment was of this and how if I did indeed adversely impact the runoff.
I hear you.
Reading this, to me, again, I'm a pharmacist. I'm not an engineer, but it appears that does directly speak to what the concern was with the city. Okay, so I thought, maybe we're making some progress. I again met with the city, and I was told that this is looked at as a generality, that this does not specifically speak to the city's land development code, that it's a more stringent code as opposed to the state on the state level. No problem. I understand. So with that said, again, the response was remove the pavers. Again, remove the pavers. And I want to say that I invested a substantial amount of money to install the pavers and time and effort. And I feel like we need to look at why are we focusing on, let's focus on some solutions that we can obtain other than removing the pavers. But with that said, I've met now, I'm working with the Arcturus Group, and they are the engineering firm who designed the entire site. They're the ones that designed the drainage plan. They created the site plan. And I have another letter. This is something that I just received 2 days ago. And again, that's kind of why I'm asking for additional time, because I feel that the information is there to demonstrate that the pavers pose no issue to my property or the neighboring property or the site in general, as far as any type of flooding or alteration or disruption in water runoff. So, again, this is the Arcturus Group, and this is, I have not given this to the city yet, but again, they designed the entire development. They said, "Dear Mr. Kazala, per your request, we have analyzed the effect the addition of 679 square feet of pavers would have on the drainage system at the above referenced address. We have found that the system can handle the minor increase in volume that will be generated as a result of the installation of these pavers. We feel that the system will not be negatively affected from this installation, as there is adequate additional volume within the chamber system as constructed. We trust this meets your needs for the present. If we can be of further assistance to you, please do not hesitate to contact us." So this is Pat
Do you
Montecchi.
have copies of that? Because we need to see that and see who it's from
I
and see who
provided
signed
that, yes,
it.
ma'am. That is in the packet which I provided to Ms. Stoner.
Bobby, we'd like to add this to the evidence, please.
And why I feel this information is relevant, because, the looking at the code in question, the land development code, all right, and you look at what SwiftMud had to say pertaining to the land development code, that in their assessment that the installation of the pavers has not adversely altered or disrupted adjacent runoff. Okay, that's one thing to look at, because runoff is the way that the water is going to get into the stormwater system. Okay, we have SwiftMud, the state agency, stating that there is no issue. And again, if that's a generality and does not address specifically the property, well then the Arcturus Group, who designed the site plan, again, there's another letter stating that there's no issue as far as the vaults, the stormwater vaults ability to retain the additional volume. It has the capacity to retain the additional volume. And the way that the city presented it is that, oh, well, the vault would need to be reconfigured, that this would not be, as far as a financial means, it would not be feasible. But again, we have information from Arcturus Group, substantiating the claim that no, actually the pavers do not pose a problem. So the reason why I'm asking for additional time, and that's why I'm here today, because I do appreciate the city for allowing me the additional time, because again, it was right during like Christmas and New Year's, and I feel that the data is out there demonstrating that these pavers do not pose an issue. And it's just, I need that time to obtain the information. And I feel I've done really well in the limited amount of time I've had to obtain this information. And I feel that with a little more time, I could absolutely.
You're starting to repeat yourself,
ma'am.
so I'm going
Thank
to
you,
cut
ma'am.
you off there if you don't mind, please.
Yes, ma'am. But one final thing I want to say is that page 6 of the packet, which I presented, there is, again, by design, the site is inherently prone to flooding. There's an erosion issue where there's a crack that runs the entire length of the majority of townhouses along the rear step, because the way the hill is, it just, every time it rains,
That's beyond the scope of this.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
I don't know about anybody else. Does the city require a permit for pavers?
Yes, ma'am.
And was the permit showing that the entire yard was going to be paved?
No, there was never a permit that was actually applied for. It was, an email had been sent with a rough sketch of about 100 square feet that he was going to put the pavers down.
So when that was exceeded, then a permit would have been required?
Any kind, yes, it would have still required a permit, but the permit would not have been approved due to the site plan. Does not allow for it.
SwiftMud has rules, and the city can have more strict rules, and the HOA can have even more strict rules, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Am I reading this correctly? So the overarching rule is this big. The city makes it a bigger rule, and the HOA makes it a tighter rule.
Yes, and in the HOA
We can't rule anything about the HOA rules.
Yes, ma'am.
And we can't do anything about SwiftMud regulations, but we are here to enforce the city's rules.
Yes, ma'am.
And the city's position is that more was done than was requested,
Okay, yes, ma'am.
and his comeback is, I don't think it did any damage, but I'd like more time to prove one way or another.
Yes, ma'am. And I would like the principal planner to be able to speak as well. She's the expert on this.
Say that again?
The principal planner is here to be able to speak on that.
Pat's here?
That's here, yeah.
Yes.
Oh, hi, Pat, I didn't see you. Thank you. I'm sorry you're hiding. Could we, if it's okay with the rest of the board, I'd love to hear her input on this, if you don't mind.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
can hear it straight from the city's mouth.
Okay. Pat McNeese, Principal Planner. Would you like me to go down each of his points? Would you like to ask me
Summarize
questions?
briefly.
All right. So just to hit some of his points. So the Water Management District permits stormwater. So does the city. The two entities each have their own rules. The Water Management does not review a project for compliance with city rules, nor does the city do the same for the Water Management. This site was permitted. This is called Carriage Homes on Ring.
I think we all know which.
This is a townhome development, all of which was permitted with one stormwater design. It was not a lot-by-lot design. So this project is in violation of our stormwater code because it added impervious surface to an approved project that wasn't authorized by that approved project without modifying the entire project. We gave Mr. Kazala basically our direction to him was to go ahead and remove the papers. In the meantime, after those are removed, the development could, the HOA could apply to modify that stormwater design and permit for the entire development. That's what we offered as a choice. Mr. Kazala has gone down this road of asking about his specific lot. And by the way, we have some letters and some responses with no context as to what they saw, what they evaluated, whether there's no signed and sealed here, right? There's no engineering analysis. And the city has not reviewed any of this because nothing's been submitted. So that's all, that's kind of where I package that in my head. Those were the choices we gave, was to go ahead. There is a way to resolve this, I guess, which is that the HOA would apply to have a site plan modification to modify the stormwater. In the meantime, though, the pavers have to come out, property has to come into compliance until it's determined how much more can it take development-wide with the existing vault. We did determine, before we suggested that, we consulted with our stormwater staff and said, hey, could they expand the vault? Could they put the vault, another vault, or expand it? They could put another expansion under that roadway in the back, they said, because, you can't, obviously, none of these vaults are under buildings, so you could put one back there. So we offered that as a suggestion that the HOA could come in and revise apply for a site plan approval to do that. So those were the choices we gave. Are there any
And
other
would he
questions?
necessarily have to take it all out, or only the amount beyond that original drawing?
Well, that would be everything. So the original approved site plan, the original developer, owner of the property, installed everything, built everything that was approved on the site plan. And that's what the stormwater system was designed to handle.
May I state that at no point was I told, again, I initially reached out to the city, was after the fact, learned that there was a 100 square foot code, 100 square foot rule. Just alone by looking at the survey, you can see that that's more than 100 square feet. And again, we always spoke with, I was asked what the length of the walkway is. In no way did I intentionally attempt to do something incorrectly. That was not my point whatsoever. Again, I was told I needed a permit for the fence, and I absolutely reached out and obtained the permit for the fence.
We understand the fence is not an issue here.
I want to say that as I had been given inaccurate information in regards to if a permit is required or not, and also I was given inaccurate information by being told that the chambered vault could not handle any additional volume, when in fact the letter from our tourist group indicates that there is adequate volume for the installation of the pavers. Now, if a site plan is required, and as Ms. McNeese is pointing out that there's no types of calculations or anything like that, I have no problem whatsoever obtaining that information. But again, these things take time. I cannot, between my work, I have 2 young children, between my family.
We get it.
Trying to coordinate, it takes time. So I absolutely have no issues whatsoever obtaining a site plan. And I'm working with the company that designed the initial site plan. And
we hear you. You're asking for more time.
Yeah, so what I want to say
understand.
is in the meantime, removing the pavers to ultimately determine that they in fact pose no problem, to me is unproductive. Like what is the reasoning behind removing the pavers only to learn that you can actually keep the pavers the way that you had them, okay? And the reason why I'm mentioning the site plan is because
you're starting to repeat yourself again.
But I want to say how I spoke about inaccurate information being provided to me. I've also been told by SwiftMud, by civil engineers, also by people within the city, not at a higher level, that I do not require a site plan for the entire development. We have the site plan on file. You know exactly what the drainage, how the drainage flows. The way it was explained to me is that we need to determine what
I'm going to cut you off, sir, because we're just going over the same things, and we have a limited time here. So thank you.
Sir,
Does anybody else have a question?
I have one specific question for you. You received an email in August of 2022 where you were told if the pavers are less than 100 feet, you will not require a permit. So you got that, you were told that then, so you then proceeded to put in more than 100 square foot of pavers.
Reading past that email, we were talking about length. She asked me, what is the walkway?
This is the bottom line to the whole thing.
That's all I'm interested. You were told if it was under 100 feet of pavers, you didn't need a permit, but you put in over 100 feet of pavers.
If the length of the walkway was less than 100 feet in length, the length of the walkway is less than 100 feet in length. There is no 100 square feet. If you read prior to that, you see that the discussion was pertaining to the length of the walkway. At no point was 100 square feet cited, which is a completely different measurement versus length. The length of the walkway is not greater than 100 feet, but the square footage is greater than 100 square feet. And
it does not look like a walkway.
And also, I want to say
you paved your whole yard.
and the it's in the downtown district. I have no problem determining what the impact of the pavers are on my site, but to now provide another obstacle for me to overcome, it seems like every time that I obtain an answer, then there's something else that needs to be completed. But I have no issues obtaining a site plan. Okay.
Sure they know this was.
And this was installed on 2 separate occasions. This was not one single installation of pavers.
Okay, go ahead. It's your doctor.
Sir, I have a paper here from the city. On page 1, it appears in paragraph 4, you say your name is Fred Casella. After speaking with our local municipality and obtaining approval from my HOA. Is that an accurate quote from what you told the city?
Could you repeat that, sir?
Sorry?
Could you repeat the sentence again for me, please?
My name is Fred Casella. I currently reside at 131 downtown Tarpon Springs. After speaking with our local municipality and obtaining approval from my HOA, I installed pavers on my property.
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the next page from the city, it says, the HOA, and this is the top of the page. It says the HOA documents specifically state this would not be approved. Do you see any conflict in the two statements?
I do, because the HOA documents, again, there's a design standards where they're allowing you to install pavers. There's a design standards that they presented that is advocating the installation of pavers. So I do disagree with that statement, because the HOA themselves, the board on the HOA provided the homeowners a document allowing for the installation of pavers. So that statement is inaccurate.
So the city...
And I have it here if you'd like to see it, sir.
The city is not accurately reflecting what the HOA says.
No, sir.
Correct?
That is correct. The HOA did allow for the installation of pavers.
The HOA documents specifically state this would not be approved. Lastly, that all work on the site must cease immediately and all the upper unpermitted work performed to date must be removed. That's inaccurate.
Yes, sir. The HOA has provided a document stating that pavers may be installed. Yes, sir. And I have it if you would like to see it, sir.
Okay.
If I may respond to that particular statement, I don't know if everybody has the HOA documents. Did you put them in one? There's only one master because there's like 47 pages of the HOA documents. But on page 20 of those documents, it does state specifically.
Yes.
Have you read that? Water management system, no structure of any kind shall be constructed or erected within, nor shall any owner in any way change, alter, impede, revise, or otherwise interfere with the flow and volume of water in any portion of any drainage area of the Florida water management system, nor shall any grading, alteration, or other modifications to these areas be made without prior written permission of the board, Pinellas County, and Swift Mud.
Correct. So I've obtained HOA approval. I'm obtaining Swift Mud approval, and now I have to speak with.
Swift Mud's not in charge of this.
But the statement is saying without Swift Mud's approval,
Prior approval.
Correct, but again, so then why would the HOA provide a document allowing me for the installation of pavers if that is?
Okay, I'm afraid we're going back and forth about the same things.
Yes, ma'am.
We have the evidence before us.
Yes, ma'am.
And our job is to rule on that. Otherwise, we're just repeating the same things. Would anybody like to make a motion, please, or does the city wish to sum up? The summaries you've given us, we have.
I would like to say one final thing, I'm sorry. The only thing, the biggest concern I have is the neighbor, who's not here to speak for himself. Not only, he's been flooded twice, and this is Florida, we get torrential downpours every other day, and luckily it's a dry season right now. Come rainy season, it's gonna be a once-a-week event for him, and I'm trying to protect his property.
I
That's
disagree
my
with that
biggest concern.
statement. Sir, he has not been flooded twice, all right?
Sir, you don't get to comment on that.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a 1-minute summary? You're given that time.
Yes, ma'am. My 1-minute summary is that, again, I have no issues with obtaining the necessary information to allow me to retain my pavers. Obtaining a site plan is not a problem. I can obtain that. I'm actually working with our tourist group, the site plan designers, to obtain that information. I would like time to provide that information to the city, please.
Thank you.
May I ask him a question?
Yes, ma'am.
How much time do you think you need?
I'm requesting 90 days because, again, I work trying to coordinate schedules. My kids have after-school
thank you.
activities. Yes, ma'am.
But the only thing you need to do is take up the pavers, and the whole thing would go away. Is that correct?
He has
Yes,
to
sir.
regrade some of that.
That's all we're talking about.
I mean, we say the easiest thing, but
No, I didn't say it was easy. I said the only thing you have to do by February, say the 14th, is take up the pavers, but you choose not to do that. Why is that?
I choose not to take up the papers because I truly believe that they do not pose a problem to to my property or the surrounding properties. Everybody makes mistakes. We learn. We learn through life, and I feel like I should be given the opportunity to resolve this. That I should be given the opportunity with the engineering coming in, with taking the proper mitigation efforts to correct this. I just wanted an opportunity to fix and demonstrate that there is no issue. And if that means an engineer signing off on this, so that I want to remove the liability from the city, because I understand that's the reason why we're here today, because they don't want my neighbor upset or suing the city, and I absolutely don't want that either. So I'd like an opportunity to show that there is no issue and that there's not a liability there. And that's all I'm asking for, is the opportunity to provide the information. Yes, thank you. Thank you, sir.
And if I may, one final thing. I did not read the timeline in the email from the neighbor, but just to point out, on October 21st, 2022, his garage flooded, and he told this gentleman. On December 15th, 2022, the garage flooded again. He told his neighbor. Everything was soaked in water. He took video of it, and he also told his neighbor and showed him the video.
So at least twice we have documented occurrences.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. But flooding is
Anybody think they need more information?
There's a hat.
Could I hear a motion, please?
Yeah, I move in case number 22-800-00428 to find the respondents, Fawad Kazala and Rosanna Holan, in violation of City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Sections 6-1, 212, and 141, and the Florida Building Code, Section 101.5, for the property located at 131 North Ring Avenue, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689, and to assess a fine of $150 per day beginning on February 14, 2023, until compliance is achieved, and to order the respondent to contact the Code Enforcement Division to arrange for reinspection of the property and to verify compliance with the board's order.
I second.
Can we specify what compliance is? Is it just removing the papers, or does the regrading and removal of the drains have to occur? I think we need to be real specific here.
Compliance can only be achieved by properly removing all unpermitted work that was completed, including but not limited to the concrete, the pavers, drains, trenches, gutter outlet diversions, etc., and restoring the property back to its original graded and sodded condition.
I'm not sure that can happen in a week.
Okay, I can modify, if that's the case, then, let's see,
I work full-time.
I'd like to defer it, give him 60 days.
How long?
60 days deferment to come back here.
That's a really long time.
Yeah, to see if he can,
Yeah, but
I agree that
the
all of
problem-
these different,
Yeah, but the problem is then, every time it rains, the
it's not
garage
the
is...
rainy season now, and
yeah,
that
but
rain that did come down was torrential.
But this has been going on
Yeah.
for months and months and months and months and months. If
But-
I'm the neighbor,
but may I-
and everybody's being patient, and
May I
just going,
please-
I don't want it, if I'm the neighbor, I don't want to go through bureaucracy
when-
over and over
when-
and
when
over
he-
again.
That meant that, would you like to amend your motion, and then we'll see how people vote on it, and then if they want to give
Well,
60?
I'll amend it to 16 March.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
Roll call, please.
1 moment.
So that's about 4 weeks.
Ms. Eisner?
No.
Dr. Mateo?
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Chelior?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Your
Do you want to
motion carries.
summarize, or? Because that was a huge request that we've
go
made,
ahead,
and I want
because
to
you
make
can
sure
put
it's
it in
clear,
what
and it will also be mailed
compliance.
to you.
Right.
Yes. You have until March 15th.
No, 16th.
You want the fines to start on the 16th or come into compliance by the 16th?
Well, as of 16. Well, it's the same,
Beginning.
it's the same verbiage, other than changing the date from February 14th
Okay.
to March 16th.
So you have until the March 16th to put basically the property back to where it was before you touched the pavers.
Okay, my question is, prior to that date, am I able to submit a site plan with stormwater calculations to
You
the
can do
city?
whatever you
May,
want,
but
but
that
you
will
have to
not-
do what we've just ordered, or there's going to be a fine, unfortunately.
And the fine will begin on,
Correct.
Get as much done as
So
you can
Yeah,
before
you
that
can
date.
apply for anything, but it's not going to stop these fines starting on that date.
Yes, ma'am.
Stack them up and put them in the garage.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Think you're going to get it. Okay,
Madam Chair,
thank you.
Madam Chair,
Madam Chair.
can we have a 5-minute break?
Yes, ma'am. The code board's going to break for 5 minutes. There are facilities in the lobby at either end.
Who all is here for the next case?
Reconvene the code board meeting. I want to make sure that the person that's for this one is here, if they didn't leave. Marshall? Okay, thank you. Because I think they were here.
Yes.
Bad for them to wait all this time and then just to get missed. Could we skip and come back?
We can.
Let's skip number 5 and go to 6 and we'll come.
Madam Chair, we have a large group of people here for this one. If we could just give him just a couple more minutes.
Okay,
please.
If there's a large group, we'll see the relevance of their testimony.
Should we pass and come back?
The next one quit. After this one, is the next one quit?
It should be. They're here.
Okay.
We're going to skip and come to item number 6, and we'll go back and get item number 5. Item number 6 is case number 22/8000349, Jana Dudova and Samuel Pace, 807 Riverview Lane, Tarpon Springs. Is anyone here for that case? Alrighty, we'll hear from the city, please.
This is not a homesteaded property. On December 1st, 2022, I inspected the property located at 807 Riverview Lane due to a citizen complaint. Upon arrival to the property, there was a jet ski in the driveway with expired registration, several large piles of pavers, and the entire property was overgrown with grass, weeds, and other vegetation in excess of 12 inches in height. A courtesy notice was left with a compliance date of December 16th, 2022. A reinspection was completed on December 15th, 2022, and found that no efforts had been taken to bring the property into compliance. The property was then posted with a notice of violation with a compliance date of December 30th, 2022, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. Further re-inspections were completed on January 11th, 2023 and January 25th, 2023, and found that again no efforts had been taken to bring the property into compliance. However, the property was partially mowed but left behind a significant amount of overgrowth. Due to noncompliance, the property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board. Compliance can only be achieved by mowing and maintaining the property of all grass, weeds, and other vegetation below 12 inches in height at all times, having all vehicles, included the jet ski, with valid and current tag and registration, and removing the pavers stored in the driveway to an enclosed structure. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent until February 27th, 2023 to achieve compliance. If compliance is not achieved, staff recommends the Code Enforcement Board impose a fine of $50 per day beginning on February 28th, 2023 until the property is brought into compliance. Exhibit 2 are going to be photographs of the property.
Bobby will mark those into the record, please.
Yes, ma'am.
The first set of photos are going to be the overgrowth, the jet skis, the pavers that are being stored in the driveway. 12523 is going to be a reinspection with a partial mowing of the property, but the rest of the violations remained. Exhibit 3 will be the notice of violation, certified mail receipt, and the affidavit of posting. The notice of hearing with the certified mail receipt and the affidavit of posting. Exhibit 4 is going to be the Pinellas County Property Appraiser, along with the tax collector. And I was out there this afternoon. The property is almost in compliance. They have completely mowed everything. The pavers are gone, but he moved the jet ski so far in the back of the carport, I can't see the registration. They do not live here primarily. This is an investment property, so I have to get a hold of him out of state to get the tag, so I can just run that. If that is valid, then he is in compliance.
Have you had any communication with them?
Not until yesterday, when he called and said he could not make this hearing. According to neighbors, though, this is a very ongoing problem. They leave for months on end, and it just sits and gets neglected.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move in case number 22-8000349 to find the respondents Jana Dodova and Samuel Pace in violation of the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinance Section 8-52, 8-40, and 40.00 for the property located at 807 Riverview Lane, Tarpon Springs, and to assess a fine of $50 per day beginning on February 28th, 2023, until compliance is achieved, and to order the respondents to contact the Code Enforcement Division to arrange for reinspection of the property to verify compliance of the board's orders.
No, second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Ms. Eisner?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We'll slip back to item number 5 on our agenda, which is case 23-008-000001, Robert W. Marshall, 333 Manatee Lane. If there's someone that wishes to testify for this case, I need you to come forward. Sir, were you sworn in earlier? I did not think so. We'll need to do that before we begin, and she'll take care of that if you'll raise your right hand, please.
Just raise your right hand, sir. Do you swear testimony you're about to give the whole truth and nothing but the truth? I do. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And then just right over there. I assume that you are Robert? Yes. Thank you. You've heard enough to know how it goes. The city will present a case, and they're going to begin. Thank you.
This is a homesteaded property. On January 13th, 2023, I inspected the property located at 333 Manatee Lane due to a citizen complaint. This property is being utilized as a short-term vacation rental tourist home and does not have the proper permits or approvals from the city. This property is zoned as RM Residential Multifamily District, which requires a conditional use permit to be approved by the city. The property was posted with a notice of violation with a compliance date of January 24th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. A reinspection was completed on January 24th, 2023, and found that no efforts had been taken to bring the property into compliance. Due to noncompliance, the property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board. It should be noted that this property has several prior cases for the same violation, one of which was closed less than 1 month ago. During that case, myself, Sergeant Miller, and Officer Boone spoke with the respondent, Robert Marshall, and his nephew, who both assured they will no longer rent the residence for short-term and will only rent to a long-term tenant. Also, they both advised that the listings would be removed from the websites immediately. However, Airbnb shows the reviews from renters several times monthly for the past 6 months, as well as future bookings that have already been made. Compliance can only be achieved by ceasing all short-term rentals immediately and applying for a conditional use permit, having it approved and issued, as well as following all guidelines and regulations for having a short-term rental in the listed district. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent until February 27th, 2023 to achieve compliance. If compliance is not achieved, staff recommends the Code Enforcement Board impose a fine of $75 per day beginning on February 28th, 2023 until the property is brought into compliance. Exhibit 2 is going to show you on the residential map what it is zoned for the RM multifamily district. There's also the Airbnb website page that's up here, as well as showing you what dates are booked, reviews that have been made, and the dates the reviews were made. And then it just gives some more information about the Airbnb. Photographs of the interior of the house on the ad as well. There is Exhibit 3 is the notice of violation, the certified mail receipt, the green card signed and returned, and the affidavit of posting, the notice of the hearing, the certified mail receipt, and the affidavit of posting. Exhibit 4 is going to be the property appraiser and the tax collector. And just so you are aware, we do have several neighbors here that would like to speak as well regarding the concerns for this house. There have been a substantial amount of police calls to this residence as well, and there was another one just 2 days ago.
If I didn't say so before, Bobby, please
Yes,
admit
ma'am.
the city's evidence into the record. At this time, Robert, you just ask a question, and then we'll give you a chance to make a case. Do you have a question for the city?
We put in for the permits, and we were waiting for a response.
That's not a question.
Okay. That's one of the reasons I thought I was here today. That's one of the reasons I thought I was here today.
Okay. Would you like to make your case, please? Speak carefully into the microphone. We're old, we don't hear that well.
What? My aide said kiss.
Pull your microphone over.
My aide said
Thank you.
kiss. Keep it simple, stupid, so I'm gonna try. We had police, I took in after COVID, some band members who had lost their jobs, and
We
things
need
got
to
out of
address
hand.
the issues that are here, not the reason that you rented it. The reason you're here is because you're renting a house in a for a
We ceased-
short term in a non-permitted area. So the reasons don't matter, we just need to know your side of the
We
case.
ceased and desisted. It's over. We're waiting for the permits.
You have no side of your case?
He's just saying.
What's the case?
The case is the reason that you're here.
I'm waiting for permits, basically.
Are you saying you haven't been renting the property?
We ceased, we stopped. As soon as code enforcement came to the house and said, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to rent this out.
Okay.
And they said, just get the permit. So now we're waiting on the permit.
Where do you get the permits from? City or the county?
City.
Okay.
We paid $500.
City's not going to give a permit for this.
Change zoning.
Can the city inform us as to how long a permit would take to be issued?
No permit has been applied for at this time. Once the permit is applied for, it would go through the Planning and Zoning Committee. It has to go to the TRC first. If the TRC approves it, then it moves on to the planning. If planning approves it, then it moves on to commission, and then commission has to approve it. It's a very lengthy process.
What is the time frame?
Each of those happen only once a month, so I couldn't even put a time frame on that. I will say, though, I have a inkling that due to the problems that are constantly occurring at this house, I don't think it's going to be approved. It may be, but I have a feeling it's not going to be approved.
When did you apply for the permit, sir?
As soon as we were informed.
Say again?
On the 23rd, and then we shut it down.
On the 23rd of January. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
As of this morning, there's no permits that have been applied for.
The
And,
lady who, I'm sorry.
and 2 days ago, the police were out there again for another issue for the short-term tenants.
I believe there are some other members of the
Yes, sir.
audience that wish to add a little testimony to this. Ma'am, would you like to come forward? You'll need to identify yourself, and were you sworn in earlier? Okay.
Am I done?
Mr.
I'm not-
Marshall,
I'm not
if you'll
really
step
done.
aside just for a minute, she would like to address us.
Certainly.
Thank you, Officer Boone.
And by the way, there are renters there. There are approximately 4 to 5 cars there, and they are not all his.
Could
and
you
that
tell
is
us,
all
I'm
this
sorry.
morning. I am Susan
For the-
Swenson.
Say your name?
Susan Swenson. I am
And-
his immediate neighbor. I moved in October of 2021.
Thank you.
And last year alone, between January 22nd, or 2022, and January 2023, there were 55 police calls to his home. Not only 2 days ago, but yesterday, there were 2 cars there with 3 police officers talking to somebody other than them. And I believe that that person may have moved out, which is the trend. He has created a nuisance. He and his tenants have acted unreasonably and have created personal discomfort and a lack of safety for myself, my kids, and my grandkids. There's noise, there's odors, there's more. I do not feel safe. I moved into this house, approximately $1 million home that I've worked my tail end off for my life, as worked 33 years as an engineer and a project manager and a manager at IBM. I care passionately, and sometimes too passionately, as you could ask some of the people that live in my neighborhood. I care passionately about not only our home values, but about our safety. In addition to these smaller items that he has done, such as parking and totally blocking my driveway. I woke up once at 3:30 a.m. I'm an early riser. I see a party going on. I ring his bell. I knock on the door. I try to tell the people behind. He comes from upstairs and goes, "Oh, there's a party in my house?" And sorry, he did say it like that. And the car was parked straight across my driveway, so I could not leave for my 5 a.m. workout. He typically then had 9 cars in the driveway, on the street, 2 boats between our houses. And by the way, these are all not allowed in the HOA. But somehow the HOA was also not being effective. The weeds are still growing in my backyard. I go cut them down so my fence doesn't fall over. But more importantly, 55 public records. I created, as an engineer, a table of the problem type and the occurrences. I am not going to go over all of these. I'm only going to go over a few of them, and I'm sorry that one of the neighbors is not here to go over it himself. January 1st, I heard a disturbance. Not just a party, but a disturbance. I couldn't quite hear what they were saying, but they were fighting over in the swimming pool next to my house. And we are on the canal, so the sound kind of carries. I called, they came to the house. There ended up being 3 police cars, a fire truck, which was really interesting to see them come into my street and back out, and a ambulance. That was a suicidal call. It ended up, my disturbance call ended up being a suicidal whatever. They rushed her to the hospital. I talked about that one. Okay, one time Mr. Marshall, I believe it was August, if I'm not correct, I'm sorry, but he returned from New York. He was visiting his ailing mother. He came home. He didn't know who was living in his house. He called the police. And I've talked to the police quite a bit, talked to them a lot. And he said he doesn't know who's living in his house. The police officer actually asked me to call a phone number for vulnerable adults, because I'm not sure if it's because he's high all the time or if he's just too friendly with everybody or it's PTSD or whatever. So I called vulnerable adults because I've taken care of my parents and other people. And I said, I think he needs help. But somehow he didn't fit in the criteria of being helped. So then he calls again and said, by the way, these people were in my house and I've got something missing. And later on, we found out it was a gun. They're diving off of his dock. There's the dive team there behind our houses, diving for a gun. There was another one where, unfortunately, the neighbor on the other side, there were 2 women fighting in his house, which has been a standard occurrence. And she went to the other neighbor's house. The neighbor didn't have her door locked. Her husband was not home. It was in the evening, I believe, and she walked in with a knife. I don't know where that one went because it wasn't me, but I've talked to the guy, and he's talked to the HOA, and I mean, I can just go on and on and on. So when he talks about people not living there now. Ask him who the 5 or 6 people were in his swimming pool yesterday, that they do go to work, but they do come home. So, our HOA declaration, by the way, says no short-term lease, nothing under 90 days is allowed. So that, in fact, says that you can't do it. And the biggest thing, too, is when he has these renters, they're not abiding by the HOA rules. And it clearly says, if you have anybody else in your house or you rent it out, they have to follow the HOA rules. They don't. I don't think they even know him. He received an HOA declaration when he moved in, according to the HOA board. I have since given them 3, and 1 to his nephew or his cousin, Kevin Marshall. And every time I talk to them, oh, we don't have it, we don't have it. And I know that the people living there, he has not shown responsibility for renting his home, short-term rental of rooms, nor being in an Airbnb. He is frequently very high and may even be vulnerable. One police officer, as I mentioned, even indicated that to me. He does not act within reason. He should never be able to rent that place out. That's it.
Thank you for your testimony. Was there someone else here for that property?
What did you? I think they had to leave.
Okay, thank you.
Just so you are aware, I did receive about 6 emails from residents on that street that were here to speak. They just, again, they had to leave.
Thank you.
Do you ever attempt to verify the number of police calls that she alleges were lodged in this situation?
I looked at a few. There's, like I said, there's quite a lot. Again, and there was another one 2 days ago.
Would you like to summarize?
I'm not here to say if this will be approved or not. He's just in violation of having the short-term rental and needing to apply for the permit. Until it is approved, if it is approved, all short-term rentals need to cease.
Mr. Marshall, do you have a 1-minute summation?
Yes, ma'am. I'll tell you about myself. I'm irrational. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I served in Southeast Asia. I served this country. I came back and became a policeman in the city of New York, in the worst precinct in the city. Then I went to the fire department. From the fire department, I went to the Marine Division of the fire department. Now I'm I retired as Chief Marine Engineer of the New York City Fire Department. I'm very irrational.
Not at issue here.
These people who the police were called on for wellness checks, police come and they
None of this is at issue. The issue is, if the place is being rented in violation,
it's over.
then we will find it in violation and we'll fine you.
It's been ceased.
That's the issue.
There's no reason to be here. We stopped that as soon as we knew about it.
I have a question for Officer Stoner. So, is it still up on Airbnb for the advertisements and stuff like that? Or-
It comes up and down. One day
Okay.
it'll be up and the next day
Okay.
it'll be down, but it's Airbnb and VRBO.
Okay,
And
thank you.
as of a few days ago, there's listings that have been booked all through June.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
No.
So even if we vote to stop this, how does it proceed that it doesn't continue?
How is it enforced that people aren't staying there?
How is the enforcement?
We would have to have the neighbors call in again and let us know that he's renting. He would then be a repeat violator where fines would start immediately. And then it would continue until, again, the permit.
It would come back as a repeat violation where the fine could be up to $500 per day for each day the violation has occurred. The difference in that situation is you don't get a time period moving forward.
Correct.
So, for example, if there was a June date and there were 3 days in June in which they were rented, you had testimony to show that, the board could fine him up to $500 per day for each day that those violations occurred when you had the repeat violation hearing.
Okay, and we were told that there has been no permit applied for.
Correct.
So,
But that's not here nor there.
Incorrect.
And it's bigger than just a permit.
Right,
It's
right now,
zoning.
it's not permitted.
Right.
I think
Right.
everyone will agree
yeah,
it's not
not
permitted.
permitted and it's not zoned,
And it's not zoned.
and it's happening.
Right.
It is zoned where it could be approved for a rental, which I have made the neighbors very well aware of, that he could do the process and they could approve it because his residential zoning does allow for the Airbnb and short-term rentals. It just has to go through the process.
Okay. There are no other questions? Would anyone like to make a motion?
Yep. I move in case number 23-008-00001 to find the respondent, Robert W. Marshall, in violation of the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances, Section 241.00, 25.05, and 209.00 for the property located at 333 Manatee Lane, Tarpon Springs, Florida, 34689, and to assess a fine of $75 per day beginning on February 28, 2023, until compliance is achieved, and to order the respondent to contact Code Enforcement Division to arrange for reinspection of the property to verify compliance with the board's order.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Eisner?
Yes.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mr. Rollinson?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
And Ms. Wade?
Yes. I'm going to have the attorney summarize this because this will put you in jeopardy if these rules are not followed, and I want him to stress this for you.
Right. Basically, you're not allowed to do short-term rentals until you're permitted to do so, should you obtain the permit. If you happen to do short-term rentals and are found, here's the concern, it
I'm
will
not
be a
irrational.
repeat violation. And if this board so finds you in violation again, it's $500, up to $500 per day for each day of the violation. So the concern here is for any future activity unless you're permitted to do so.
I understand.
Nobody wants you to lose your home, and that's in jeopardy if you don't follow these rules.
I appreciate that.
Okay? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
The board will send you a transcript of this and a written order for this. Case, thank you for coming.
Will it be today, or can I go?
Case 7,
Go.
You can go.
You're done.
Thank you very much.
Have a nice day.
case number 22-8-0000346, Salvatore Minash, 900 Riverside Drive. Is anyone here for that? Thank you, sir. City will present its case.
This is a homesteaded property. On December 1st, 2022, I inspected the property located at 900 Riverside Drive due to a citizen complaint. Upon arrival to the property, there was a silver sedan with no tag, an RV parked in the backyard without the required opaque screen, and overgrowth around and under it, and the entire property was overgrown with grass, weeds, and vegetation in excess of 12 inches in height. A courtesy notice was left with a compliance date of December 16th, 2022. A reinspection was completed on December 20th, 2022, and found that the property had been mowed. However, the silver sedan still had no tag, and the RV was parked in the same place without the fence. The property was then posted with a notice of violation with a compliance date of January 5th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. Further re-inspections were completed on January 5th, 2023, January 18th, as well as January 25th, 2023, and found that no efforts had been taken to bring the property into compliance. Due to noncompliance, the property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board. Compliance can only be achieved by mowing and maintaining the property of all grass, weeds, and other vegetation below 12 inches in height at all time. All vehicles on the property have to have valid tag and current registration, and parking the RV in the appropriate place in the backyard with the required opaque fence screen, which will require a permit to be applied for, approved, and issued. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent until February 27th, 2023 to achieve compliance. If compliance is not achieved, staff recommends the Code Enforcement Board impose a fine of $50 per day beginning on February 28th, 2023, until the property is brought into compliance. Exhibit 2 will be the photographs of the property that were taken on November 29th, 2022. Photographs from December 20th, 22 that show the same. Exhibit 3 is the notice of violation, the certified mail receipt, and the affidavit of posting. The notice of hearing, the certified mail receipt, the affidavit of posting. And Exhibit 4 is the property appraiser and the tax collector. I was out there again this afternoon. The grass is still mowed, looks great, but the car still has no tag and there's still no fence around the RV.
Is that the end of your testimony?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Do you have just a question? Okay.
She answered it already, actually,
Okay.
so that's
Then
good.
you get to present your side. Thank you.
Okay, grass, that's my fault, honestly. I didn't think I owned all of that property. That's my stupid self, so now we're keeping it mowed. I like it to look good. I want it to look good. RV, my question was, how come everybody else has them? But you answered that. It needs to have a fence around it, is the issue for that. The car's sold. I could actually call the guy, probably get him pick it up by this weekend. So I am tightening this up. I'd like a little time to sell the RV or put a fence up, if I could get that from you guys. Yeah, that's about it. I want the house to look good. I want everything to look nice. I love the neighborhood.
How long do you think it will take you to get the RV sold?
I was gonna ask for 30 to 60 days if I could get that. I could post it online by this weekend and see what happens. Fence is expensive. That's gonna take me a little while, so it'd probably be quicker to sell it than it would be to put a fence up.
The car is already sold?
Car's already sold. He's sitting there waiting for the
You
guy
will
to
need
pick it
to
up.
confirm that with the code board and have them come out and re-inspect that for you.
Sure, absolutely.
I don't have any problem with that. Just so you know, the fence, it only literally needs to be 2 panels that block it from that second drive.
Is it like where you're looking at the front of the house where that opening is on the side? Is that what you're?
If you're looking at the back of your house where that street goes, if you
Right.
put 2 fence panels there that they're opaque so you can't see through them, that's all you have to do for that
And that's
RV.
what I thought. I didn't think this was such like a huge,
No,
I'm
that's all
trying,
you have to do.
I want it to look good. I don't want to live in
So do your
trash.
neighbors.
Right, exactly. So, okay, cool. So that might even be quicker because 2 fence posts or panels can get, this weekend I can do that.
Do you need a permit for that?
Oh, yeah, good question, thanks.
The permit for 2 fence panels.
Before you leave here, I would stop by the building department, ask them if they would require a permit for just 2 panels.
Cool.
And leave that up to them.
Yeah, sounds good. Like I said, I just, I want it nice. I'm hoping to sell it ASAP, so. And the car, I just gotta make a phone call. The guy's already given me a deposit, I have the title, it's
Wait a
ready
minute,
to
so
go.
the car's not sold? Now
No,
you say you have
I
to make a
have the
phone
title
call.
sitting at the house. He's given me the deposit. I'm waiting for him to come pick it up.
Okay.
That's it. So, yeah.
I thought I was hearing
know, I
conflicting testimony. All righty. So, could we have a motion from the board?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, I did not ask Bobby to admit the documents into evidence. Please do so, thank you.
Yes. I move in case number 22-800000346 to find respondent Salvatore Minosh in violation of the City of Tarpon Springs Code of Ordinances Sections 442.00, 40.00 for the property located at 900 Riverside Drive, Tarpon Springs, and to assess a fine of $50 per day beginning on February 28th until compliance is achieved, to order the respondent to contact Code Enforcement Division to arrange for reinspection of the property to verify.
We modify that,
Want to do it sooner?
just give a bit more time if he's gonna put up a fence to get.
He only needs to put 2 panels.
Yeah, but he's gotta get the
Get a
permit
permit.
too.
Uh,
Yeah.
All right. March 16th. I modify till March 16th.
Thank you.
That's a drop dead date.
That's a long time.
Yeah, well, March 1st. Feel better? March 1st?
Stay with March 16th.
March 16th. Let's not set him up
Yeah,
for
no,
failure.
20th, March
You know,
1st is no
28 days in
difference.
February.
That's right.
Pick a date.
March 16th.
Second.
I'm
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded.
good to go.
Thanks,
Roll
guys. We're all
call, please,
set.
Bobby.
Cool.
Mrs. Eisner?
Yes.
Dr. Mattea?
Aye.
Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Fidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
Your motion carries.
As you've come to realize, our job is not to fine you, our job is to create compliance.
Right.
Please get this done. We don't want to
Gotcha.
see you again.
Absolutely, man.
Thank
Gotcha.
you.
Thank you, guys.
Definitely
Have a good one.
definitely talk to the
Talk
permits
to them.
folks and about,
Where did you?
And
Yeah.
talk to the permit
Right
office.
before
Are
you
they
go
still
out
there?
on the left-hand
By the
side.
front door when you go
4:30.
out.
I appreciate the help, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be watching.
It might be
Might be
closed.
closed.
Item 8, case number 22-8, 0000437, 3MD Investments LLC, 40741 US Highway 19. And if you'll introduce yourselves and confirm to me that you were sworn
Yeah,
in
I did.
earlier?
Yes,
And you, sir, what's your relationship to the property?
I'm the owner.
You're the owner?
Yes.
Okay. The city will,
She needs their name, Bobby.
Name.
He needs
The
their
gentleman's
name.
name, please, is testifying.
Your name,
Martin,
sir?
Martin Salim.
Thank you.
Martin, spell
Yes.
the last name?
Seleem.
Seleen, Martin.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is not
And
a,
we're going to accept the evidence from the city into the record, please.
this is not a homesteaded property. On December 30th, 2022, I inspected the property located at 40741 US Highway 19 North due to self-initiated activity. Upon arrival to the property, there were 2 large shipping containers behind the building by the dumpsters. These are the same shipping containers that were across the street at the church parking lot that were then moved to their current location. To have this type of storage unit on a property, a permit must be applied for, approved, issued, and finalized if it's permittable. The property was posted with a notice of violation with a compliance date of January 17th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. Further re-inspections were completed on January 17th, 2023, and found that no efforts had been taken to bring the property into compliance. Due to noncompliance, the property was referred to the Code Enforcement Board. A re-inspection was also completed on January 25th and found that both containers remained. However, they had been painted to match the color of the building. Compliance can only be achieved by applying for proper permits and having them approved, issued, and finalized. However, if the permits are not approved to have the shipping containers on the property, they are to be removed. A hearing notice was posted on the property on January 25th, 2023, a copy mailed to the property owner via certified mail, and posted at Tarpon Springs City Hall. The division recommends giving the respondent until February 27th, 2023 to achieve compliance. If compliance is not achieved, staff recommends the Code Enforcement Board impose a fine of $100 per day, beginning on February 28th, 2023, until the property is brought into compliance. Exhibit 2 shows the shipping containers on 12/30/2022, and then again on January 25th when they were painted. Exhibit 3 is a notice of violation, the certified mail receipt, and the signed green card, along with the affidavit of posting, the notice of hearing, certified mail receipt, and affidavit of posting. Exhibit 4 is going to be the property appraiser, tax collector, and Sunbiz. And that is all I have.
All righty. Do you have a question for her?
Nope.
Thank you. Does the board have a question for her? Would you like to present your case, please?
Yes, ma'am. So we are on the plaza there, and we own the restaurants in the plaza too. So we use the shipping container for our basically storage. We're running out of a space most of the time, so we decide to put these there. We're putting some items for the restaurant, Halloween decoration and Christmas decoration and all this. I have nowhere else to put it. However, we apply for the permit. They ask us for a site plan. We submit.
When did you apply?
I'm gonna ask the contractor here.
It was about a month ago.
It's about a month ago.
About?
Yeah. I don't know the exact date I dropped it off. I've been speaking back and forth with Tracy. We had to get an engineering letter for it and the site plan and all the different stuff that she needs. I've been working back and forth with it, but I have applied for it.
And what was the date?
The first email she sent to me was on February.
Not email, what was the date that the permit was applied for?
One second.
Because Ms. Stoner usually gets updates on that.
It was originally dropped off on January 23rd at 11:57 PM. And their time lapse in between there was the time it took to get the engineering paperwork and stuff together that they wanted to show that they could be set there.
So we haven't received a response from the city?
I just got a comment back from Tracy the other day, and she asked for a couple more pieces of paperwork. So I'm actually in the process and getting that resubmitted.
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead, and then I'll confirm with her if she has the city record of that. Go ahead.
So basically, we submit for it. We need the shipping container on the property to continue with all our storage. We're running out of a space. We keep everything there. This is our first violation for almost 10 years. We haven't done anything or been there, so.
Don't tell us you've been in violation for a year. We're only starting
No, we
from
haven't
this
been.
date.
No, we haven't have anything like that. So that's it.
Okay. Are you double checking for me?
I did. I see no permit for this whatsoever. The last permit that was applied for was in 2022 for electric and a sign. That's all that there is. That's the most recent.
Go ahead. I see you down there. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Did you say you dropped that application off at 11:57 PM?
Yes.
The office
That
wasn't
would
open.
be midnight.
You can file them on.
The office wasn't open.
Yeah.
No, 11:57 AM, sorry.
Okay.
I keep record of when I drop all paperwork off now, because whenever I go to different building departments, it seems like it's a regular thing since COVID happened that things just disappear. So from now on, whenever I drop anything off,
You have an email from?
I actually send the owner a text that I've visually dropped it off as I'm walking out the door, just so I have a track record from now on every time I'm dropping off paperwork.
But you have an email from them showing?
Yeah, I just have an email from Tracy just a couple of days ago, and I'm in the process of I gotta go down and record a new notice of commencement because there was an issue on the owner. So I gotta go get that recorded and resubmit that with the, tree permit, but there's no tree removal.
I'm not sure how the permitting department works here. I don't know if they don't put it in unless they have all the documentation
Yeah.
that they require. I'm used to a department that you submit it, you get a permit number, and then it stays there until
Ongoing.
you submit everything. So
I'm not
that,
sure they had all the data. There was question on the ownership and a few other issues.
that's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
sounds
It
like
may
they're
possibly
working on
not be
it.
in because of that reason.
It sounds like they're working on it.
Right.
If I may, I mean, if you go down to Pinellas County Building Department at Court Street, when you drop it off, they give you a stamp letter recording that they got it and a tracking number. So probably with their system, they might be able to see it right away. But with Tarpons, it's not like that. You just come and drop it off and then you wait for them to contact you.
But you're still working on the application.
We
There were
are,
some
we
questions.
are working on it. They didn't
Okay.
say that it's not permitted, no way, no form. They just want us to follow the legal steps to get it taken care of.
Did you say that the containers were at another location and then they were moved to this location?
Yes, the last code board meeting we had with the church, I believe they were storing their shipping containers at the church.
Yes.
They couldn't be there, so they had to move them, and they moved them to their property.
And they didn't know the rules then of what the rules would be on your own property?
I've never had contact from either of these gentlemen, so I'm not sure.
So
They still had stuff to store and they didn't have any place to put it, so they just moved them for
But when
now.
you had to move it from the church, you were told what the rules are, so you moved it to your property, and you're still in violation.
So they're Mr. Salim's containers. It's not that we just were moving these things around and just setting them in the church's property. He actually leases a parking area from the church for additional parking for the staff for the restaurant. So he just put them there, not thinking that he was doing
Consider this
anything
my
wrong.
property and not
Because
my
it's,
property.
technically, it's considered kind of his property in his eyes because he's leasing it for the parking.
My question is that you were told it was parked illegally. You moved it to a place that is still illegal. So you were told once that it wasn't okay, and now you're being told twice that it wasn't okay.
No, it said that they couldn't be there because technically he leases that property from the church and it's only leasable for parking, additional parking.
No, it needs to be permitted.
So, right, but they didn't want to permit him in the leased
In the
parking
leased
lot
parking lot.
because he leases that from the church. So he just moved him across the street to his property, not knowing that he was really doing anything wrong.
Thank you.
They do look better painted, by the way. Anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. And you guys are going back and forth actively trying to get this permit. So what, do you have any idea from your communication as to a timeline as to when you think that'll be permitted?
I wish.
Yeah, I mean, I wish it's all in the city of Tarpon's hands. I mean, I gotta go down, like I said, and get that new notice of commencement recertified. You know, I plan to re-drop them off tomorrow.
Okay.
And I know they said zoning has to look at it and permitting has to look at it. It's in permitting's hands. We wish it was tomorrow so we could get this resolved.
I believe they also have to go through TRC to get approval as well.
This is going to take a minute.
That's
Yeah.
2 months then, right? 1 month for planning and zoning,
Yeah.
1 month for TRZ.
Easy.
You, just as a suggestion, you may want to consider putting this to next month for a status.
Okay.
To determine whether a permit, where they are with the permit and that process, because otherwise you're just guessing.
Okay.
So that's just a consideration.
All right, yeah, I move that we table it till the next meeting to reassess where they are with the permit and then go from there. Because I mean, he's clearly making an effort to get the issue resolved. It's not like they're ignoring it.
With the warning that we better see a permit request.
No, we are working on the permit. I mean, and I don't know if that helps you at all. I don't know who would be in charge of this. But if you were to provide me with an email, I can keep you updated as I'm updated with the city of Tarpon. I'm more than happy to keep
She
pushing that
has
along.
It
the
would be-
code enforcement
Yeah,
board
through
through
the
the
code enforcement
police
officer.
department.
And I made several phone calls to the code enforcement and I left messages and have nobody called me back. Once I received this paperwork, you tried to call too?
I did try to call. I did try to call to notify him that we were working on
We're
it.
working on it because we don't want to get in more than trouble, so.
The line either said that they're not taking messages at this time, and I did leave one message and nobody called me back. I even went as far as meeting with somebody here from zoning. I don't remember the lady's name, but she gave me an additional number to call, and I was getting the same message when I called.
I can check our voicemail, but I'm the only one that answers the phones and the voicemails there, and I haven't had anything from you guys.
Is there a motion on the floor?
Several times, it just wouldn't even let
I
me.
did, and
You know, they're
Call the
half a mile
question.
from where your business is. You could walk
Absolutely.
over there too.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
But we-
not too many excuses. We're giving you an extension.
Absolutely.
Let's
No,
move it
we're not-
along.
we're not
Thank
trying
you.
to.
There's a motion on the floor, is there
We have a
not?
motion on the
I
floor. We
second.
have a second. Thank you. Bobby, roll call, please.
Okay. That was,
It was to table it till next time.
That's a great idea.
For
Mrs. Eisner?
status,
Yes.
Just so we're clear, for a status update on where we are.
Okay. For a status update.
Ms. Eisner?
Yes, thank you.
Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Mr. Rolliston?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Ms. Wade?
Yes.
That completes your roll call.
So this case has been tabled till next time. The code board has already suggested that we start fining, And I think we'll be less friendly if we haven't seen significant movement next time, just as a heads up. But they will send you documentation that it is tabled until next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
So is emails from the city that I'm working back and forth with them, that classifies
Want to see
as-
permits.
Yeah.
Well, at least give, at least give an update, a little solid update where everything is. If they could give you a timeline, you know, anything like that, so the board can at least be comfortable with what's going on.
We've seen no evidence of what you're testifying to.
Right.
It's not showing on her site. You didn't give us any information from the city that said, hey, we're working on this, dude, we need a little more of this.
I mean, I have an email.
But that's not what I can put in our thing, so.
Well, I would recommend
Print it off.
right.
Okay.
We need documentation so we can put it in the file.
Okay.
Can we
Okey-doke.
email it?
Thank you for coming, and
See you
we hope
next
we
time.
won't see you after that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank
guys.
you. In the affidavits of noncompliance and second orders. Thought we were never gonna get here. Case number 19-8000220, Michael Mena, 420 Hibiscus Street. Is anyone here for that case?
The next three cases.
These were the ones from
the
last
roof.
month, the roof.
So the question is, I think the question is, who's here for any affidavits of noncompliance?
He is not here. He has all three of those.
No, we could, just one? You all are here for one?
All three of these are theirs.
You're in here for compliance.
Yes, he's here for an affidavit of compliance.
Okay, so
He's
the
in that
reason
group.
I asked that is you could do one motion
Oh, good.
on all the affidavits of noncompliance, which is
9, 10, and 11.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So in addition to the case I just called, we're adding 19-800000221 and 19-800000222. The first address was already given as 420 Hibiscus. The 222 is 424 Pine Street. And is the other one an empty lot, a vacant lot? 10, what's the address?
It's just a parcel number, ma'am. There's no assigned street address to it.
If you want to step forward, you already were sworn, we don't need to have
No, no, no.
testimony because it's
You
affidavit
need
of
to first do a
compliance.
motion on the non-compliant, accepting the affidavits of non-compliant.
And we can do all three together?
Yes.
Right.
We can do all three.
I'm moving.
Well, I'm
We have
sorry.
to-
Okay.
The owner is not here, but he did write an email that he wanted me to read into the record if you so choose.
Which one?
For 9, 10, and 11.
Okay.
That was the gentleman that was here last time in person.
Correct.
About the roof.
Yeah.
Was that the one with the roofs over the?
Yes.
Correct.
Oh,
And I will tell you that there still are no permits applied for at all.
Kidding.
I move to accept them.
Oh, are they gonna read?
I might have been called at the beginning, I was late.
I'm sorry, are you here to testify on this property?
No, I think she's one of the affidavit of compliance as well.
I think yours is coming up in just a minute, all right? This one's not yours yet. Thank you. We're almost there, just a long meeting today. We'll get to you.
So is she gonna read the letter?
Do you want to go ahead and read it? We'll be,
Wait, did you
It's
make the
brief.
motion?
I said move to accept it, because.
But we have a motion for accepting the affidavits of non-compliance. That's on the floor.
on the floor, and
I second it.
then we will have a vote.
Is it affidavit of noncompliance and second order, or is that something different?
These are affidavits
Of noncompliance.
noncompliance. That's what we
Correct.
have,
So-
9, 10, and 11.
Yes, it is also the second order, so you would start the fines
Right.
on the date of the first
These
order.
are already been recorded.
Right, all you have to do is accept
Already
the
signed and
affidavits of
recorded.
non-compliance, it'll automatically start the fine.
Right.
Okay.
So we have a motion, we have
And
a
a second.
second, and Bobby's going to call the roll.
Yes, I am. Mrs. Eisner?
Yes.
Thank you. Dr. Matea?
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Rollinston?
Yes.
Mrs. Telliar?
Yes.
Mr. Weeks?
Yes.
Mr. Perfidio?
Aye.
Miss Wade?
Yes.
Acceptance?
We didn't want to
We
hear the
know
letter.
what case she's here on.
I believe she's for the affidavit of compliance, which, Madam Chair, when you're ready to start
Are you
those-
Deanna? Are you Deanna? Let's skip down to number 14. No.
Before we start the affidavits of compliance, we're going to do something or have a suggestion to do something a little different for this set of affidavits of compliance. Some of these are dating back to cases in 2016. There was a fallout somehow, and a lot of inspections were not completed over several years. It is on the onus and the responsibility on the respondent to call us and let us know that the property is in compliance, so we may reinspect. However, I also believe that this division holds a responsibility to continue doing inspections on these properties and not just find them and forget them. It is our responsibility as well to do them frequently. So what I'm going to ask for all of these affidavits of compliance is if you would accept the affidavits of compliance with no fines issued at all, because we are not certain of the actual date that they did come into compliance.
For all of them?
Yes, sir.
Can we do it as one?
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Yes, ma'am.
18 and 19.
What about the administrative
19.
costs?
We are
Everything
asking
goes.
because of the way that this has been handled. Everything is just wiped clean. The
Need to
liens
start
are
over.
all released. This is pretty much their get out of jail free for this one time. And they would still be repeat violators should they come back again. But
Okay.
due to the time lapse, I have no way of saying when this case actually came into compliance. And that's, again, that's something our division needs to keep up with.
But they will all be visited soon to make sure that we don't start all over.
They are all in compliance at this time.
Okay.
As of December 7th and 9th, I went out and made everybody is in compliance.
Yay.
So once the liens are all released, they owe no fines. Should another call come in, they would be a repeat violator.
Okay.
Everybody should be smiling.
So the motion should be to accept 12 through 19 with no fine being instituted on any of them.
Correct.
I make a motion that upon the recommendation of the city of Tarpon Springs, we accept all 13 or whatever, 13 through 19
No, you
affidavits of
can't say,
compliance with no
or whatever, we need to
fine
be
imposed.
specific.
12 through 19.
12 through 19
Thank you.
with no fine imposed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You guys got really lucky, and we hope that it stays that way.
It was worth the wait.
It was worth the wait, wasn't it?
Congratulations.
But
Congratulations.
pass the word, we're not here to be vindictive, we just want the things done. Are you happy? Smile at me.
It was worrying her.
You're welcome.
What was her name? Was she on?
Bye now, thank you,
Bye.
have a great
The
day.
Deanna,
Go to
Guarantee it.
Rich, or- right?
number 14.
Okay.
All right, we have a few more just to get through what we're supposed to do every time.
I think we're done, right?
Is there business from the code board for us or any notices?
No, ma'am. Just-
Anyone on the dais need to make an announcement?
I just want to make a comment. I think it's wonderful the way you're giving us the information. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you.
I mean, it's just so easy to follow. Very grateful.
Thank you. And just be advised, I have found a couple more of these affidavit of compliance old cases, so you may see them trickle in the next couple hearings, but I will let you know which ones that they are, and we're gonna, again, wipe them clean and start fresh.
Thank you. Any board or staff don't wish to speak? I think we're done.
No,
And-
we're not
wanna
done.
echo.
We have minutes that I would like for y'all to
We do have
vote
minutes?
on. Yes, yes, we do.
Where, are they in here?
I do not know. I sent them to code enforcement to be put part of this agenda to be reviewed and approved, if you could.
They were sent after I had already sent you guys the agendas, so I don't have them to.
Can we do them next time, please?
may.
Thank you.
I just want to echo her comments about, don't hit me with that. You're good with the book. Thank you.
Very, 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 very excellent.
Thank you.
And not having to mail a giant thing, although I did like getting it in the mail to make sure.
I'm just making sure, because some people weren't getting emails, so.
And since it's not an $8 package, I think the city can spend $1 to mail them to us each time, if anybody else agrees.
We may need a little help down the road, just with the fining, the way you have it, you know, knowing if we're doing the right thing. We're so used to that progressive fining, that jumping in and giving someone $250 right out of the gate is like, really, it's a lot. But you're
Yes, ma'am.
putting it in that.
Yes, I will help you every way I can.
Okay.
But she also has on the bottom there about repeat fine. It's in the subtext all the way
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
I like that.
I also,
Meeting is adjourned.
Okay, let's get out of here.
Thank you.